Naruto God Level Majin Buu, Chapter 521-540. 521 Masochistic Senju Tobarama. As soon as Tiankong Yunjian came out, it burst out with an irresistible pressure, and it swept in with super strength. The terrifying coercion was terrifying, and the Tiankong cloud sword erupted and slammed straight in, instantly making Orochimaru scared to death. This pressure. Orochimaru couldn't help but was stunned for a while, and everyone else was horrified. Chen's sword was simply unstoppable, making Orochimaru feel like he was going to die. It was really terrible. At this time, the original Hokage Senju Hashirama moved. Senju Hashirama roared, bursting out a strong chakra, and shouted, "Senpo, Sage Art." At this time, a black pattern appeared around Senju Hashirama's eyes. Senju Hashirama shouted and burst out with a powerful force. Under this force, Senju Hashirama's strength was even stronger. Sage Art is indeed Senju Hashirama. Did you understand so quickly? Chen's eyelids twitched slightly, feeling that Senju Hashirama seemed to be a master, so he chuckled softly and said lightly. Under Sage Mode, Senju Hashirama began to use the chakra of the Master Sage Art to show his strength. Once Senju Hashirama Master uses Sage Art's chakra, it is enough to threaten Chen, and even give Chen a great threat. The Art of Psychic, Five-Fold Rashomon. Senju Hashirama shouted loudly, only to see a 5-layered huge Rashomon bursting out from the same place. The Rashomon was engraved with various patterns such as Shira, Ligui, and Yaksha. The 5-layered Rashomon. I only saw this 5-layered Rashomon appear, erected directly, blocking Chen in front of him, almost isolating Chen from the outside. Senju Hashirama's strength is fully revealed at this moment, and he is indeed the legendary god of ninjas. This strength and ability are astounding. Each of the 5 layers of Rashomon is as high as several hundred meters, standing in front of Senju Hashirama and others, and Chen's Tiankong Yunjian also arrives unexpectedly. An instant, this sword directly cut open the 5-layered Rashomon as if it were cutting tofu. This 5-layered Rashomon was insurmountable in front of others, but in front of Chen it was easy. Chen's strength can be seen in Madara. The 5 layers of Rashomon were split open by Chen with the Tiankong Yunjian, and they all shattered. A cold sweat broke out on Senju Tobarama's forehead, and he muttered to himself in shock. Even the eldest brother's 5-fold Rashomon was so easily defeated by this Uchiha-chan's strength. He is indeed stronger than his eldest brother. Even Namikaze Minato, who was on the side, was shocked, a little shocked. Chen's strength has really reached this level. It is much stronger than me. This is the strength of the 6 Paths Immortal. Namikaze Minato was still immersed in shock, and when he saw Chen for the first time, he actually had the strength comparable to the 6 Paths Immortal. That is the legendary 6 Paths Immortal. It seems that the Sage Mode state has an effect on him. Not only in this way, time-space ninjutsu and taijutsu should also have an effect on him. But seeing Senju Hashirama looking at Chen with a dignified expression, he said, "We must work together, otherwise we will definitely not be his opponent." That's right. Case, the 4th eye, let's use the Hiraishin technique to deal with him, and that's all there is to it for now. I never imagined that I would be so embarrassed. Fortunately, we are the body of impure world reincarnation, which can be resurrected infinitely, but we can make use of it. Senju Tobarama rode. But Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. Oh yes, I'm afraid not necessarily. Your impure world reincarnation is not a problem for me. Spoke. Chen moved suddenly. Gudodama truth-seeking ball around Chen exploded violently, and the 9 Gudodama truth-seeking ball swept out. Gudodama truth-seeking ball instantly transformed into different forms, like a black stick, and stabbed directly at Senju Tobarama. Senju Tobarama looked stunned and wanted to avoid it, but it was too late. Senju Tobarama hurriedly used Hiraishin to dodge, but Gudodama truth-seeking ball followed him like a tarsal maggot, stabbing him sharply. Naive, do you think Hiraishin can escape? Chen said coldly. He turned around, he saw Gudodama truth-seeking ball attacking Senju Tobarama, following him like a shadow, making Senju Tobarama feel enormous pressure. Gudodama, truth-seeking ball, directly pierced Senju Tobarama's body, and Senju Tobarama was nailed to the ground. Senju Tobarama was nailed to the ground by the black rod that Gudodama, truth-seeking ball, transformed into. He originally wanted to move, but found that his whole body seemed to have lost his strength. He couldn't move at all and could only be slaughtered by Chen. Senju Tobarama felt this powerful force, and his heart was already extremely shocked. It is reasonable to say that he should be able to pull out the black stick easily, but at this moment he lost all of his strength and was powerless to move. Senju Tobarama, don't try to struggle, these black sticks are specially condensed with the power of yin and yang, you can't break free. It's really embarrassing, the dignified second-generation Hokage has also fallen into the field of today. But you also deserved what you deserved. If you hadn't deliberately targeted and dealt with the Uchiha family like this, the Uchiha family would not have been reduced to such a point. Nor will Konoha become so. Chen said lightly. In fact, Senju Tobarama can be regarded as the culprit in the downfall of the Konoha Uchiha clan to a certain extent. If it wasn't for his thoughts on the Uchiha clan that influenced Danzo and others, how could the Uchiha clan be targeted by Danzo, and how would it lead to the Uchiha clan being targeted by Danzo? Destruction of a family. It can be said that Senju Tobarama is the culprit. So Chen didn't have the slightest affection for Senju Tobarama, and directly shot Senju Tobarama without mercy. This time, he will also madly abuse Senju Tobarama. Please automatically reward. 522 landslides and earth cracks, the sun and the moon have no light. Chen looked at Senju Tobarama coldly. Chen had the least affection for Senju Tobarama. Senju Tobarama also noticed Chen's expression. He was pinned to the ground by a black stick, completely unable to move, extremely embarrassed, but at this time he bit Kiba and refused to admit defeat. Uchiha Chen, your Uchiha clan is a clan that relies on the power of hatred of Sharingan to strengthen its pupil power. Now that you have Rinnegan, the hatred in your heart should be the strongest. I never felt that my decision was wrong. The Uchiha family should have stayed away from the power center of Konoha. Senju Tobarama said coldly. Tobarama, stop talking. It's really our fault, especially your decision. Senju Hashirama's eyes flashed a stern look and shouted. Hey, big brother. Senju Tobarama said angrily, but when he saw Senju Hashirama being so severe, he stopped talking. Chen frowned, glanced at Senju Hashirama and said, if everyone was as impartial and selfless as you, Senju Hashirama, there wouldn't be so many bad things in the world. For Senju Hashirama, Chen still admired and even said that he admired Senju Hashirama. After all, Senju Hashirama's character is indeed fair and selfless. Looking at the Hokage of all dynasties, his character is the most fair and the most impartial. It was also in his hands that Konoha started. Unfortunately, there are still many people like Senju Tobarama in the world. Chen said coldly, and immediately stretched out his hand and said, Super, Shinra Tensei Almighty Push Sign. Shinra Tensei Almighty Push Sign. I only saw a trace of Joran's breath emerging from Chen's body, and this breath appeared violently, forming the power to destroy the world. No, what does he want to do? Senju Hashirama's pupils shrank. It can't go on like this, or the whole Konoha will be ruined by his ninjutsu. Of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara's battle, the situation is very different. The battle between Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara can easily destroy Konoha village, let alone Tatsunao. This is the rhythm of single-playing Konoha. Senju Hashirama was completely taken aback by Chen's actions, and quickly reacted and joined the battle. Senju Hashirama shouted loudly and said, quickly use the 4 red sun formation, or Uchiha Chen will destroy the entire Konoha, and he must rely on the barrier to block his attack. Senju Hashirama said loudly, worrying about Konoha's safety. The village of Konoha is where Senju Hashirama has worked his whole life, and he certainly doesn't want to watch Konoha be destroyed. Senju Hashirama pulled out all the black sticks that trapped Senju Tobarama, freeing Senju Tobarama. Senju Tobarama, Senju Hashirama, wave. Orochimaru 4 people and 4 hand seals at the same time. At this critical moment, they can't be too scruples, so they all shouted, 4 red sun formation. Instant, I saw 4 Yuhi, colored rays of light burst out from the unfolding of Senju Hashirama 4, covering and isolating everything around them. Forming a closed knot. 4 Scarlet Suns formation. These 4 Scarlet Suns formations are much more powerful than the 4 purple flames just now. They were inspired by the 4 Senju Hashirama 4 people. They are all cage level or even beyond cage level existences. The power of the 4 Red Sun formation is extremely powerful, trying to block Chen's Super Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign. Of the Super Shinra Tensei Almighty Push, slammed together with the 4 Red Sun formation, and the power of Joran erupted. Who would have thought that Chen would actually release such a powerful force, and the power of the 4 Red Sun formation was beyond imagination. It made everyone around watching the battle stunned. I saw that Sunagakur village was headed by Maki, almost everyone was collapsed and sluggish. Only then did Maki realize that the gap between them and Konoha and the others was so huge. The power range of this ninjutsu, this is still human. Maki and Sunagakur are all bitter, and they don't even have the courage to continue fighting. They feel as small as ants, and Chen, Senju Hashirama and others are like gods. Gap is too big, and the gap between them is like a moat, insurmountable and high above. Maggie couldn't help but stunned, completely shocked. Boom! The Super Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign and the 4 red suns formed together, and a fierce light erupted, and the enchantment exploded and shattered. A deafening roar came, and the Super Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign released by Chen is not an ordinary Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign. Under the 6 paths level, the Shinra Tensei Almighty Push released by Chen exploding power. The 4 red sun formations were broken, and the power of the Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign was almost exhausted. After all, the opponent was the 4 Hokages headed by Senju Hashirama. Block. After the 4 Scarlet Sun formation was broken, the aftermath of the Shinra Tensei Almighty Push expedition erupted, and a powerful force shone out. The aftermath shocked and surged wildly. The deafening sound erupted. If it wasn't for the 4 red sun formation to block it, the power of the Shinra Tensei Almighty Push campaign this time would have caused the land to collapse and the sun and the moon to be without light. Rao is so, after the 4 Kai Yang formation was broken, the huge airflow whirlwind formed also caused the surrounding trees to fall to the ground, and the houses were destroyed. But the land within the 4 Scarlet Sun formation was a complete mess. The power of Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign is too strong and terrible. Damn, can the 4 of us work together to block his attack? But seeing Senju Tobarama clenched his fists and snorted in a low voice, he was very dissatisfied. Senju Tobarama, you are wrong, you can't stop my attack at all. Chen said coldly, and suddenly his figure flashed, and he suddenly came in front of Senju Tobarama. Chen used the space to teleport, and then he was in front of Senju Tobarama, which caught him off guard. Senluo Fire. Blink of an eye, I used Amaterasu. If you want an automatic reward for watching the underlined version of the novel. 523 Chasing Orochimaru. In an instant, Chen used Amaterasu to face Senju Tobarama. Chen named the brand new Amaterasu Senra Fire, which means Shinra Bansho, all creation, and the current brand new Amaterasu relies on Chen's Yang escape. Power, and the power of Sage Art are used simultaneously. I only saw that Chen had a circle of black ripples around his eyes, extremely mysterious. It was the sign that he had entered Sage Art. Chen entered the state of Sage Art. He snorted coldly and attacked Senju Tobarama. How could Senju Tobarama expect that Chen would suddenly appear in front of him, completely at a loss? In Senju, Tobarama was trying to use Hiraishin's technique to evade, but his reaction speed was not as fast as Tatsuya's. Senluo Fire. Sage Art, Yangdun, and Yindun represented by Amaterasu, the 3 forces combined into one, forming the Senluo Fire. The Senluo Fire spread rapidly, burning like a madness, and quickly spread all over Senju Tobarama's body. Based on the original white Amaterasu, but it has a pale golden color, the flame is fierce and domineering, the power is even more terrible, and it is extremely dangerous. Pale golden flames. Senju Tobarama's eyes flashed with stunned, completely shocked, feeling extremely powerful. The fire of Senra erupted, and Senju Tobarama's whole body was burned and turned into charcoal. I saw was Senju Tobarama's left arm, right arm, and other parts of his body were burned, and his body seemed to be turned into scraps of paper and was burned. Even more terrifying is that after Senju Tobarama's left and right arms were burnt, it didn't recover like impure world reincarnation. Sure enough, do you have a way to deal with impure world reincarnation? But seeing Senju Hashirama whispering, her expression showed a bit of complexity. Chen's performance was really astonishing. Chen seems to have a way to deal with the impure world reincarnation, making Senju Tobarama's injury impossible to recover. Chen smiled lightly. It's nothing to be able to deal with impure world reincarnation. Impure world reincarnation is nothing but ninjutsu at its core. My yin and yang escape is enough to make impure world reincarnation feel scared. Yin-yang escape is the nemesis of ninjutsu, impure world reincarnation. In the original, even when Obito attacked the 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato with Gudodama, truth-seeking ball, Namikaze Minato's impure world reincarnation body couldn't be recovered, let alone now. Instant, Senju Tobarama was burned by the fire of Senra, and his whole body was in a different state, burned to the ground, and almost completely lost his combat effectiveness. Senju Tobarama was extremely helpless, but the law made a corresponding attack, lost both hands, he couldn't even hand seal, it was already abolished, and the combat power was greatly lost. No, big brother, if this goes on, the whole Konoha will be destroyed by him, we have to find a way. But I saw Senju Tobarama shouting loudly. Senju Hashirama nodded slowly and looked at Orochimaru. Orochimaru is right, we must stop Uchiha Chen. Orochimaru's eyes flickered, and at this time he knew that the situation was completely out of control. Out of control, it becomes very dangerous. Orochimaru was extremely shocked. Uchiha Chen's strength. Orochimaru felt that Chen's strength was extremely terrifying, but he never expected Chen's strength to be so strong. Konoha's 3 shadows and his own team were not Chen's opponents. Such a thing, the strength is amazing. Orochimaru can feel a burst of pressure. Hearing Senju Hashirama's words, Orochimaru also hurriedly said, I understand, I understand. Orochimaru also knows that things are over, and it should be time for the end. Orochimaru instructed those around, Kidomaru and the others, leave first, quickly return to the land of fields, and let all the Otogaku retreat, don't interfere in this matter. Yes, Orochimaru-sama. Kidomaru and the others glanced at Chen in horror and quickly evacuated. Uchiha Chen, the legend of the stars, did not expect that such legendary characters would actually possess such terrifying strength. Kidomaru and the others, who had seen the horror of Chen, almost didn't panic, and left now. Kidomaru waited for Otogaku to leave quickly, frightened to the point of shit. The seemingly huge and grand plan to destroy Konoha turned into a farce under the influence of Chen, because Chen's influence was too strong. Orochimaru's eyes flickered, and Orochimaru also thought of a way to deal with Chen. After seeing that Otogaku had basically withdrawn, Orochimaru said, Uchiha Chen, even if you win this time, goodbye. As soon as Orochimaru's figure moved, he saw that his body seemed to become transparent, disappearing in an instant, or even directly dissipating between this world. Chen Kai sneered, I don't care if I want to leave. If you flee to the ends of the earth, you will die. In an instant, I saw Chen move. Chen's body flashed, and chakra followed him around, following him to locate Orochimaru. This time Orochimaru dared to take the initiative to provoke him. He was really timid. What if he didn't give Orochimaru a hard lesson? And Orochimaru really had some skills. so he moved away quickly and disappeared very quickly. Orochimaru's ability to save his life and escape is really top-notch, but Chen's chakra followed closely with Orochimaru at this time, and suddenly Dechen's face moved slightly, revealing a smile. Orochimaru, where did you plan to escape? Chen's face moved slightly, and he couldn't help but smile. The place where Orochimaru was going turned out to be Raichi Cave. As Mount Myoboku and Shikatsu Forest is one of the 3 holy places in the ninja world, Orochimaru has a subtle connection with Raichi Cave, and this time Orochimaru chose to hide in Raichi Cave. And Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama and Namikaze Minato also acted in response, under the control of Orochimaru, followed the transfer. It's not that easy to escape. Chen secretly said, the action has already begun. Ask Filu for a reward to remind you. 524 Raichi Cave, Sage Art Mokuden, wood style on top of the Buddha. Open black lens bracket, please reward close black lens bracket. Orochimaru fled quickly and disappeared. And Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama, Namikaze Minato 3 were controlled by Orochimaru, and they all disappeared. Chen just glanced at Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai Yuhi and others lightly, taking in the expressions of everyone in Konoha. I only saw the complex look in the eyes of the Inoshika Cho trio in Konoha. The Inoshika Cho trio all had complex expressions, and there was a trace of pity in Chen's eyes. And Kakashi, Guy and Kurenai Yuhi all looked at Chen, especially Kurenai Yuhi. The expressions in their eyes were intertwined, a moment of confusion, a faint joy, a change of mood. Ling Chen didn't know what was going on with this girl. However, Chen's schedule was in a hurry. After he glanced at Kurenai Yuhi and the others, he suddenly disappeared, and his body flashed away. Seeing Chen leave, a look of disappointment flashed in everyone's eyes, and they were a little surprised by Chen's disappearance. Left instantly, chasing after Orochimaru. Orochimaru, in order to get rid of Chen's constant escaping, left quickly, and his figure flashed. Chen however closely followed Orochimaru from beginning to end. Orochimaru's eyes flickered, and he said, damn, Uchiha Chen is chasing so tightly, there is no other way, only relying on the help of the White Snake Immortal from Raichi Cave, now in this situation. Orochimaru had previously discovered Raichi Cave and found this mysterious holy place when he was researching the source of Chongo's violent violence. However, due to his own situation, Orochimaru has not learned the sage art of Master Raichi Cave, and Orochimaru is only an introduction to sage art at present. Now that the situation is critical, Orochimaru can't care so much, and goes directly to Raichi Cave, of course, to lead Chen to Raichi Cave so that Orochimaru can act. In such a situation, Tatsu followed Orochimaru closely. There is a special passage to enter Raichi Cave. At present, only Orochimaru knows Akatsuki, and Orochimaru is only exposed in critical situations, and Chen and Orochimaru entered Raichi Cave together. The passage of Raichi Cave is in a mysterious cave. The cave exudes a little brilliance, and an abundant fairy chakra shows. Soon, Chen felt the subtlety of it. After walking around the cave passage for about tens of minutes, it seemed that I had broken through a layer of illusion and became, suddenly bright. Phantom formation was unparalleled, bursts of light burst out, and only after passing through the phantom formation did one see the true face of Raichi Cave. Raichi Cave. Surrounding is like a fairyland, and it is surprisingly similar to Mount Myoboku. This is also a paradise, a fairyland on earth. Auras lingered constantly, lingering around the disk, the power of immortals. Raichi Cave. Chen narrowed his eyes and felt the constant presence of Raichi Cave. When Orochimaru arrived at Raichi Cave, when he saw Chen also coming, Orochimaru frowned. Chen was so troublesome, he was just like a shadow, he couldn't dodge no matter how hard he avoided it. Drop. Uchiha Chen. Orochimaru bites Kiba and the White Snake Fairy should come. Senju Hashirama is under the control of Orochimaru, only to see that Senju Hashirama has started hand seal. Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama are completely different. Senju Hashirama, strength is stronger than the original Uchiha Madara. It can be said that it is the closest to 6 paths under the 6 paths level, and more importantly, Senju Hashirama Grandmaster Sage Art, enough to pose a threat to Chen. Senpo, Sage Art, Shinsasenju, Buddha on the top. At this time, I saw Senju Hashirama shouting loudly, and a massive green chakra appeared on Senju Hashirama's body. This chakra burst out, as strong as a tide. Terrible strength, followed by display. Senpo, Sage Art, Shinsasenju, turn into Buddha on the top. This is definitely one of the strongest killing moves in the original work. In the original work, Senju Hashirama relies on this move. Even Uchiha Madara's prestige Susanoo and complete body Susanoo are all cracked, directly pressed Kyuubi, 9 tails, and stepped on Madara. The power of that blow is still remembered in the hearts of many Hokage fans. Chen saw that Senju Hashirama actually used this ninjutsu. His eyes moved slightly, and he felt a huge pressure. Senju Hashirama turned out to be really good. An instant, a super giant Buddha hundreds of meters high appeared at the foot of Senju Hashirama, and behind the giant Buddha, there were more than thousands of hands, which looked like Senju Guanyin. Reviving the atmosphere of Hiroshi, with the chakra of Yongyun, it is about to explode. Shinsasenju, turn into a Buddha on the top. The Super Buddha appeared, and bursts of chakra burst out, the power of which was earth-shattering, as if it could split the sky and the earth. It's actually this trick, it seems that I have to use my real skills. Well, let's give up, Orochimaru. Let you see the gap between me and you. Chen faintly muttered to himself. While talking, he got up. Chen said coldly, Sen Luo's domain. Under such circumstances, Chen finally used Sen Luo's domain. I only saw that along with Chen's actions, Sen Luo's domain opened. This absolute domain appeared in front of Chen, the domain unfolded, and bursts of strong light erupted. The scope of the domain includes everything around it, and it seems that even distant peaks, rivers, etc. are all affected. Chen roared angrily and shouted, the realm of Senluo, the yin and yang of life and death, in the palm of your hand. I saw an astonishing change in Chen's Senluo domain. Chen himself is constantly developing ninjutsu, and in front of him is a brand new ninjutsu developed by him relying on his own Senluo domain. Realm of Senluo is changing. A huge palm descends directly from the sky. This palm seems to be able to encompass everything. It descends from the sky. 525 The White Snake Immortal of Ryochi Cave. Open black lens bracket close black lens bracket. A huge palm descended from the sky, accompanied by a roaring sound, only to see the huge palm pressing directly, and in the Senluo domain, everything was included. A huge palm falls from the sky. This is a ninjutsu developed by Chen himself, and I saw a huge palm falling from the sky inside the Senra realm, pressing down hard. This huge palm seems to contain endless Shinra Bansho, all creation. The force of the pressure hit, the power was terrifying, and the overwhelming pressure swept the sky and the ground, turning it into ruins within the range of tens of kilometers. And the Mokuden wood style of the original Hokage Senju Hashirama was also shattered in response. Senju Hashirama, the big Buddha made with Mokuden wood style, was also turned into powder, and Senju Hashirama's strongest Mokuden wood style was cracked like this. Senju Hashirama was stunned for a moment, looked at Chen, showing a bit of shock. He was also affected by this, and felt extremely shocked. Senju Hashirama sighed softly and said, Uchiha-chan, as expected, your strength is still higher than mine now, and I can feel the gap between you and you. I'm afraid it's not small. However, Uchiha-chan, I don't think we are enemies. The Uchiha clan and the Senju clan have never been enemies. Senju Hashirama is still persuading hard. With your current strength, you should do more for the ninja world. Chen smiled, but said, Senju Hashirama, you think it's simple, but there is nothing so easy in the world, unless you are resurrected and become Hokage again, otherwise you will not talk about it. Senju Hashirama was stunned for a moment, then sighed with emotion. You're right at all, I see. The face of Chen's doubts, Senju Hashirama is also very clear. Just now my ninjutsu, called the seal of Senluo, is the power of yin and yang escape. Even your Mokuden wood style is a bit inferior. Chen said lightly. Senju Hashirama was silent, but Chen's words were not bad at all. In terms of power alone, even Shinsa Senju, the strongest Mokuden wood style, the top Buddha, couldn't stop Chen's attack. Damn, Uchiha Chen. Orochimaru listened to it, and saw Chen's strength even more, and his eyes flashed, and there was a strong look of unwillingness in his eyes, but there was nothing he could do. Orochimaru has already understood the gap between him and Tatsu, definitely not a little bit. And in such a level of battle, Namikaze Minato and Senju Tobarama next to him were a little out of touch. Because both Tatsu and Senju Hashirama have a huge range of abilities, both Namikaze Minato and Senju Tobarama can barely keep up with their actions by using the Hiraishin technique. This difference is really big. The surrounding area has long since been turned into ruins, and there is a piece of powder everywhere. The original scene of birds singing and flowers fragrant has long been changed. This Raichi cave is shattered by the collapse of the mountains and the earth, all of which are shocked by this battle. At the same time, there were many serpents psychic around, and these serpents suffered countless casualties, all of which were killed by the aftermath of Chen's attack. Rivers of blood are already on the ground, especially everywhere. Were all the corpses of big snakes, making Orochimaru's complexion ugly. Orochimaru, what are you doing here? At this time, I only heard a low voice in the air, and I only saw a purple giant python with a length of several hundred meters. It is the psychic beast 10,000 snakes of Orochimaru. 1,000 snakes. 10,000 snakes broke out of the ground and emerged from the ground. The body was 100 meters tall, looking down at Chen and the others. 1,000 snakes is Orochimaru's strongest psychic beast, almost equivalent to Wentai, with a rather brutal personality and astonishing aura. At this time, Wan Shi still didn't understand what was going on. As soon as he appeared, he saw Chen and the others in a blink of an eye, and couldn't help but wonder, isn't this the kid from the Uchiha clan who came to Raichi Cave? During the Second Ninja World War, Orochimaru was also psychic to fight with 10,000 snakes, so 10,000 snakes knew Chen. Moreover, Wan Shi's impression of Chen is quite deep, and he knows how powerful Chen is. It's just that Wan Shi's character is extremely arrogant and cruel by nature. When he said Chen's name, he was very casual, and the tone made Chen narrow his eyes. Kid. Chen heard Wan Shi said this. She glanced at Wan Shi coldly. At this time, Chen used the gravitational force of his left eye. Chen's right eye is Amaterasu, and his left eye controls gravity. He can control gravity at will, and even has the ability to tear space apart. In an instant, Chen is facing Wan Wan. The snake used its space-tearing ability, only to see the 10,000 snakes scream, and then saw a strong pressure hit the tail part of the 10,000 snakes, causing the 10,000 snakes to scream, and the tail directly broke. Chen's right eye controlled the gravity. It is similar to Kamui, but it is stronger than Kamui. With such a strong ability, it is not difficult to break the tail of the snake. 10,000 snakes screamed again and again. I did not expect that Chen would shoot in vain. 10,000 snakes rolled back and forth on the ground, sweeping frantically, and all the boulders on the ground were blasted, showing how painful it was for 10,000 snakes. Chen said indifferently, Wan Snake, this is a lesson for you to be rude. If there is another time, I will directly kill you stewed snake soup. Wan Snake rolled on the ground in pain, and finally realized that the Chen in front of him was definitely not something that he could provoke, so he rolled back and forth on the ground with endless pain. Wan Snake behaved very miserably, which made Orochimaru also discolored. After all, Wan Snake is Orochimaru's most beloved psychic beast. Seeing the Wan Snake become like this made Orochimaru also full of anger. But Orochimaru looked at Chen with fear and did not dare to move. Who the hell is it? I am so wild in Raichi Cave. However, I saw a voice coming. This voice was extremely domineering, with a violent chakra, but this was not an ordinary chakra, but a pure sage art chakra. The voice was full of anger, as if dealing with Chen. Hearing this voice, Orochimaru's face was overjoyed, and he was saved. It's the White Snake Immortal from Raichi Cave. Please give Phailu an automatic reward to remind you. 526 The most special existence in the ninja world. With the sound, Chenyi finally saw the person who came. I only saw that when a guy with a snake body and a human face appeared in front of Chen, it was not clear whether it was a human or a snake. It is somewhat similar to Kabuto, the big snake using Sage Mode in the original book. With horns on his head, he looks a bit ferocious, and his tone is domineering and arrogant. White Snake Immortal. This one is the immortal in Raichi Cave. Like the Great Toad Immortal, this White Snake Immortal is at the same level as the Great Toad Immortal. It is said in Raichi Cave that it occupies Raichi Cave, one of the 3 sacred places in the ninja world. Immortal White Snake, you finally appeared. Even Orochimaru respects the White Snake Immortal. Orochimaru once asked the White Snake Immortal to teach sage art, but his own sage art does not have much master, and is only in the entry stage. Seeing the appearance of the White Snake Immortal, Orochimaru was overjoyed. The White Snake Immortal is also a Grandmaster Sage Art, and can definitely pose a threat to the current Chen. In this way, at least it can also deal with Chen. That's what Orochimaru is thinking at the moment. After all, Senju Tobirama's hands were crippled and could not be recovered, and he was basically crippled in battle. And Namikaze Minato can't intervene in the battle between Chen and Senju Hashirama, and in the current situation, he can only rely on the White Snake Immortal. White Snake Fairy. Chen glanced at the White Snake Immortal, and said indifferently, finally, there is a person who can stand on the stage, but Orochimaru, are you planning to fight on wheels? Chen understood Orochimaru's thoughts at a glance, and couldn't help sneering. Orochimaru, it looks like he wants to drag this fight out. But Chen doesn't matter. After reaching the 6 paths level, although Chen's chakra volume is not inexhaustible, it is still easy to support these few battles. However, Orochimaru is so careful with Chen, it seems that it is impossible not to teach Orochimaru a lesson. Orochimaru, do you think you have learned the art of immortality, so I really can't do anything about you? Chen knows the 3 caves of Orochimaru's cunning rabbits, and even more about Orochimaru's Grandmaster's life-saving technique, and he is extremely cautious by nature. But Chen sneered and thought of a way to deal with Orochimaru. Orochimaru, I will not kill you, I will seal you and imprison you forever, and see what happens to you. When Orochimaru heard this, his face changed. This was indeed the most terrible punishment for him. If it is really sealed by Chen, then it would be better to die. Orochimaru thought of this, his expression changed several times, his eyes showed a strong look of fear, and he was thinking about how to get out. And Chen is not willing to let go of the big one so easily, but at least let Orochimaru feel the lesson and take off a layer of skin. Chen shouted coldly, and when he turned, there was an amazing power. The Tiancong Yunjian in his hand moved and slashed directly, rolling up a layer of steaming waves, and chakra roared out, attacking Orochimaru. Orochimaru's eyes showed a single intention, feeling the terrifying bursts, and quickly shouted, First Hokage, White Snake Immortal, save me. While speaking, the White Snake Immortal took the lead. Senpo, Sage Art, White Snake Wheel. But when she saw the White Snake Immortal open her mouth, she shouted loudly. This is the first time Chen has seen the authentic sage art of the 3 holy lands in the ninja world, and the sage art of the White Snake Immortal is also extremely powerful, which completely makes Chen feel astonished. Chen had never seen the sage art of the Great Toad Immortal before, even in the place of the Great Toad Immortal. This was the first time Chen had seen the sage art of the White Snake Immortal, and he didn't know how strong he was. The strength of the White Snake Immortal should at least be comparable to that of Uchiha Madara. After all, as the strongest of the 3 holy lands, he also possesses Sage Mode, so the strength of the White Snake Immortal is at least comparable to that of Uchiha Madara. Who can use Sage Mode is weak. In particular, the White Snake Immortal is still the strongest in Raichi Cave, which is much stronger than the 2 immortals in the original book, Zima and Shenzuo, and their strength is extraordinary. Senpo, Sage Art, White Snake Wheel. I only saw a huge uzumaki formed in the air. This uzumaki kept spinning like a big wheel, bursting out with amazing power, fully displayed, and the surrounding air was blasting and tearing. The madness retreats, the powerful force resists the power of Chen, and it is extremely terrifying. Around, a stream of air swirled and exploded, sage art spread everywhere, and the aftermath burst, causing the surrounding peaks to collapse, the valleys to rise, the mountains to fall, and the holy light was revealed, illuminating the sky and the earth. The terrifying power between the two is on full display. The loud noise continued, the airflow and uzumaki swept, and when the two collided, it seemed that even the entire space of Raichi Cave was shaken, and countless large snakes were crawling on the ground, as if they had seen the Supreme Being, shivering. Express submission. After a long time, the power of the two dissipated. Chen glanced at the White Snake Immortal and felt that the White Snake Immortal's strength still seemed to be above his imagination. It really deserves to be the White Snake Immortal. The three holy lands can't be underestimated. Each of them is the most special existence. No wonder it has continued from the beginning of the ninja world to the present. Chen whispered. The White Snake Immortal is the most violent among the three immortals. After he fought Chen, he also felt Chen's huge and terrifying power. Looking at Chen's eyes, he felt that it was the legendary Six-Tomo Rinnegan. White Snake Immortal looked at Chen with a very complicated expression. I never imagined that I would see such an existence. Your strength is one of the strongest I have ever seen in my life, and it is very close to the Six Paths Immortal back then. White Snake Immortal had also seen the Six Paths Immortal, and after seeing Chen at this time, he couldn't help but judge. If it was someone else, with the fiery temper of the White Snake Immortal, the White Snake Immortal would have already killed the guy who dared to make a fuss about Raichi Cave to the point of scum, but in the face of Chen's terrifying strength, the White Snake Immortal had no confidence. 527 I want to kill you, who can stop me? As expected of the White Snake Immortal. Chen said lightly, the strength is extraordinary, which makes me a little bit jealous. Pity, although your strength is strong, it's still 1 point off. Chen said lightly. The White Snake Immortal remained silent, as if tacitly agreeing to Chen's words. Orochimaru's eyes flickered, his face was blue and white, he did not expect Chen's strength to reach this level, and it was far beyond Orochimaru's imagination. White Snake Immortal him. However, seeing Orochimaru looking at Chen silently, thinking in his heart, it seems that even the White Snake Immortal may not be Chen's opponent, admitting that Chen's strength is close to the legendary Six Paths Immortal. Orochimaru himself was so frightened that he secretly said, in the future, you must not provoke Chen at will, otherwise it will be really dangerous. Of course, the premise is that he can hide from the White Snake Immortal this time and stop talking, but his eyes flicker slightly, as if he is thinking about something. A long time, the White Snake Immortal said, not necessarily, my Senpo Sage Art, plus the Senpo Sage Art of the Mokuden wood-style ninja in front of me, may not be able to pose a threat to you. White Snake Immortal also looked at Chen, and there was a fire in his eyes. Chen entered the Raichi Cave and stirred the Raichi Cave upside down, making the White Snake Immortal also angry, and wanted to teach Chen a lesson. White Snake Immortal glanced at Senju Hashirama. The White Snake Immortal could perceive the extraordinary strength of Senju Hashirama. If the two joined forces, they might really be able to suppress the person in front of him. Young man, trespassing on the three holy lands, even the original Six Paths Immortal never did this, I will make you pay the price today. The White Snake Immortal's tone was full of anger and said lightly. Raichi Cave is amazing. It's not like I haven't been to Mount Myoboku. It's good if it's different. Chen said lightly. You actually broke into Mount Myoboku. Immortal White Snake's expression changed. That old toad didn't make it difficult for you. White Snake Immortal is really a bit puzzling. Chen actually broke into Mount Myoboku, and looking at it like this, it seems that there is nothing at all. Mount Myoboku is different from you, a cheapskate who treats me as a guest. Chen said, took out the Six Paths Immortal's token and raised it. The token that the Six Paths Immortal gave him the last time was always in Chen's hand. I only saw Chen holding the token in his hand. This token exudes a simple and mysterious aura. The aura is mysterious and mysterious, with a supreme feeling. This is. White Snake Immortal was stunned for a moment, and suddenly stared at the token, with a strong look of shock flashing in his eyes. Shock flashed in the eyes of the White Snake Immortal. Ming felt a quaint and mysterious power from this token, which is the unique breath of the Six Paths Immortal. The White Snake Immortal also met with the Six Paths Immortal, and of course has a deep understanding of the Six Paths Immortal image. It's true. A flash of light flashed in the eyes of the White Snake Immortal. Shocked, he said in astonishment, "You actually have the Six Paths Immortal's token. Who are you, and what is your relationship with the Six Paths Immortal?" Immortal White Snake was extremely shocked and felt that Chen was extraordinary. Chen smiled. "Oh, do you actually recognize this thing?" That's right, this is the token of the Six Paths Immortal." Hearing what the White Snake Immortal said, seeing Orochimaru and the others were all stunned for a while, with a look of incomparable astonishment in their eyes, completely shocked, looking at Chen. Hearing what the White Snake Immortal said, Chen is actually related to the Six Paths Immortal. What happened? Orochimaru was in a cold sweat, and finally had some kind of guess. No wonder Chen is so scary and terrifying, and his strength has grown so powerfully. Could it be that it is clear that the reincarnation of the legendary Six Paths Fairy cannot blame Orochimaru's confusion? After all, Chen has always shown the strength is too strong. If Chen is the reincarnation of the Six Paths Fairy, then everything has a reasonable explanation. The thought of him provoking the reincarnation of the Six Paths Sage made Orochimaru feel a tingle in his heart, and a strange feeling. Senju Hashirama looked at Tatsu with surprise, and Namikaze Minato too. They all looked at Tatsu, quite shocked. Six Paths Immortal Chen is actually related to Six Paths Immortal. Namikaze Minato doesn't even know, he feels as if he can't see through this dear friend more and more. Hearing that Chen was actually related to the Six Paths Immortal, everyone was silent, and it was a shock. And Orochimaru directly and subconsciously thought that Chen was the reincarnation of the Six Paths Immortal, and he scared himself a lot. Chen saw Orochimaru's pale face, a hint of playfulness flashed in his eyes, and said lightly, "Orochimaru, you have troubled me over and over again, I must teach you a lesson today. If you thought I was going to kill you, the White Snake Immortal and Senju Hashirama could stop you." Between the words, Chen has already started. Senju Hashirama and the White Snake Immortal changed color instantly. In an instant, I saw Chen's Senluo domain open, and at the same time Chen's 9 Gudodama truth-seeking ball turned into weapons, and the yin and yang escape power in the Gudodama truth-seeking ball was stimulated. Out, a coercion that opened up the heavens and the earth showed. The yin and yang were constantly fused and mixed, and the forces rose up and circled and grew stronger. In an instant, the yin and yang escape became a divine weapon. The whole body was pitch black, like a black jade, but it was extraordinarily powerful. I only saw that this divine weapon was almost 2 people tall, black as ink, and the patterns were intertwined like twists and turns, but it exuded a little luster, radiant light, and condensed a strong formidable power, even making it impossible to look at. This is the sword of the Tianju spear. At this time, Immortal White Snake's expression suddenly changed, and he felt a powerful force, which seemed to come violently, making Immortal White Snake focus in Chen's hands. His complexion changed greatly, and he was completely shocked. As soon as the sword of the spear of Tianju heard these words, everyone's expressions changed, and they all remembered the legendary thing. Something went wrong at home. My sister has been out of contact for several days. I can't contact her. I'm looking for someone, so the update may be a little unstable. Say hello to everyone first, it may be fine. 528 The first artifact that opened up the world. The Amana Spear is famous in the ninja world. It is said that the Six Paths Immortals used this artifact to open up the world. It is said that the Sky Marsh Spear has the power to destroy the sky and the earth, and its power is extraordinary. It can be called the first artifact in the Hokage world. At this time, Chen's hand was holding the Tien Swamp Spear. His eyes were burning, showing a bit of indifference, and he looked at everyone coldly, but the Tien Swamp Spear seemed to contain the power of yin and yang, gathering and erupting. Even if it was close to the Tien Swamp Spear, you can feel a huge pressure. In the original work, after Obito became Six Paths, he once used the power of yin and yang to condense the Tianju Spear. In fact, the Skymarsh Spear is a special artifact, and is the artifact used by Six Paths to open up the world. It is naturally extraordinary. The Master's powerful thoughts will be condensed on the sword attached to the Tianju Spear to create a spiritual sword, and the manipulation of the Tianquan Spear also requires firm belief. However, because Obito in the original book did not give up his dream of becoming a Hokage, and shook his determination to destroy the world, the Amana Spear was automatically shattered. As for Chen, he used the yin and yang escape to transform the sword of the Tianju Spear. This shows that Chen's thoughts were integrated into the yin and yang escape, forming the Sword of the Soul, and forming this super artifact. As soon as this artifact that opened up the world came out, the audience was shocked. Orochimaru, in particular, was immediately shocked. His eyes flashed with a thick color of consternation. He could feel the destructive Kamui contained in the sword of Tianju Spear. In comparison, his own Kusanagi sword was simply scum. Orochimaru thought to himself. Chen's Skymarsh Spear sword is extremely powerful, and it is like the Kusanagi sword, which makes Orochimaru feel stunned. This Skymarsh Spear sword Chen holds the Skymarsh Spear sword in his hand, and can feel the majestic sword of the Skymarsh Spear. The momentum and power, the earth-shattering pressure hit, let everyone feel the shocking power. Heavenly punishment of Amana. When Chen moved at will, he saw the sword of the Tianju Spear burst out with decisive power, and stabbed Orochimaru directly. In an instant, with a decisive force, the vitality in Orochimaru's own body disappeared instantly. Orochimaru's body fell softly to the ground. Orochimaru's pupils dilated, and he fell to the ground, already dead. Even Orochimaru was unable to withstand the terrifying blow and died instantly. Orochimaru, die. I saw Orochimaru's body fell to the ground and turned into small white snakes, crawling around and retreating. These small white snakes climbed everywhere, and Chen narrowed his eyes when he saw it, and the Amaterasu in Chen's eyes fire erupted. Amaterasu burned the little white snakes, and all the little snakes died. These little snakes are all big distractions, so after Yi Nan burned all these little snakes, Orochimaru was apparently dead. However, Chen knew that, if things were so simple, Orochimaru had many unexpected ways of resurrecting, and even the curse was one of them. As long as someone has it, Orochimaru can be resurrected with the power of the curse mark. Orochimaru is already dead on the surface, and this time Orochimaru has been severely damaged, and it will definitely be sluggish for a long time, and it will definitely not dare to ask Chen for trouble. Pretty sure of this. After Chen killed Orochimaru, he turned his attention to Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobirama and Namikaze Minato again. Even after Senju Hashirama and others died, after Orochimaru, Impure World Reincarnation did not disappear, which is also the powerful performance of Impure World Reincarnation. Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobirama, Namikaze Minato still feel the power of Impure World Reincarnation, but they are no longer bound by Orochimaru. Namikaze Minato glanced at Tatsu, with a complicated expression. Damn, boy. A mortal white snake looked at Chen, and there was a coldness in his eyes, also with a bit of indifference. His eyes almost burst out with fire, and a strong anger flashed in a mortal white snake's eyes. Chen actually killed Orochimaru in front of the white snake immortal. This is literally hitting the white snake immortal's face. The white snake immortal felt like her face was going to be swelled up. Just now, she swore that she would threaten Chen, but now it's just helpless. Watching Chen kill Orochimaru in front of him. A mortal white snake opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but after seeing Chen's hand holding the sword of Tianju Spear, there was no sound again, and there was a strong look of fear in her eyes. Who would have thought that Chen actually had such strength at this moment, and also condense the sword of the Tianju spear, not to mention the power of this artifact. The name alone is enough to scare people to death. Okay. This is the Six Paths Fairy, the first divine weapon that created the world. The legend of this divine sword has spread all over the ninja world, making the White Snake immortals have to be afraid. Senju Hashirama sighed even more and said, "What a pity, Uchiha Chen, you were supposed to be our companion. If you can become the Hokage of Konoha, it will definitely bring the whole of Konoha to an unprecedented prosperity, and it is Konoha who is sorry for you." Senju Hashirama looked at Chen, sighed softly, shook his head, and his eyes were full of admiration for Chen. Senju Tobarama was silent, and stopped talking on the side. Your impure world reincarnation should be disbanded soon, and that guy Orochimaru should not be dead. Chen said lightly. Senju Hashirama and Namikaze Minato were stunned when they heard Tatsu's words. Senju Hashirama's eyes showed a hint of understanding, that the young man named Orochimaru has a fantastic idea, but unfortunately he didn't use it on the right path, otherwise it would be a great tool. Not everyone is Senju Hashirama's. Chen said lightly, and his words were full of admiration for Senju Hashirama. Senju Hashirama was stunned when he heard this, and then a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and his words were gentle again. Uchiha Chen, I don't know if you are interested in being a Hokage. 529 Uchiha Chen, be a Hokage. Do you want to be Hokage? Senju Hashirama looked at Chen seriously. Senju Hashirama looked at Tatsu seriously, as if he was really thinking about the possibility of this matter, and could see that Senju Hashirama was serious and wanted to entrust the Konoha village to Tatsu. Lien Chen was stunned for a moment when he said this, and he couldn't help but sighed at Senju Hashirama's arrogance. Senju Hashirama, this guy has such arrogance. Brother, you're crazy. Hokage is the most important leader in the village. How could he let the Uchiha clan get the better of him? People do it. Other hand, Senju Tobarama immediately got up and retorted after hearing this. Senju Tobarama keeps saying that Senju Hashirama is crazy. Senju Hashirama frowned and scolded. Tobarama, do you still have this kind of prejudice? Ask the Senju family or the Uchiha family, what's the difference between the two? As long as it's good for the village, it's fine. Hearing Senju Hashirama's words, Senju Tobarama tried to defend himself, but was directly stopped by Senju Hashirama's stern eyes. And Namikaze Minato looked at Tatsu with a little hope, and seemed to hope that Tatsu would join Konoha and come back again. Uchiha-chan, your strength, resourcefulness, and talent are all the best, and you are definitely the best candidate for Hokage. If you agree to be Hokage, we'll go back to the village right now, just in time for 3 generations of Hokage to die. I believe that Tobarama and I are still very prestigious. If the 3 of us jointly recommend you to be Hokage, the people in the village will not refuse. Senju Hashirama looked at Chen with a sincere expression and said softly. Chen could feel Senju Hashirama's completely selfless mood, and Chen couldn't help but be taken aback for a moment, surprised at Senju Hashirama's attitude. Senju Hashirama is indeed the man who ended the chaos of the Sengoku era and created Konoha village in one fell swoop. Chen was overwhelmed with emotion, a faint light flashed in his eyes, and looked at Senju Hashirama. Senju Hashirama thought Chen was hesitant and said, Uchiha Chen, please believe me, I am absolutely serious. With your current strength, you can definitely be the best candidate. I heard that you were also famous in the ninja world and Konoha village before. Far and wide, I'm sure the people of Konoha won't resist you either. Not to mention, if Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama, and Namikaze Minato all 3 strongly recommend Tatsu, then Tatsu could really become Hokage. After all, now that Sarutobi Hiruzen is dead, Konoha village is facing the biggest problem, and no one can inherit the position of Hokage. It can be said that the entire village has fallen into the most critical situation. Under such circumstances, if Chen returned, it would be a life-saving straw, and there must be a large number of people who would be happy to see such a situation. Namikaze Minato's eyes also lit up and said, "Chen, we will fully support you." The white snake immortal watched from a distance, her eyes twinkling and intertwined. Unexpectedly things would develop unexpectedly. Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Chen had a tendency to shake hands and make peace. The white snake fairy is secretly moved and looks annoyed. Angrily, he always looked at Tatsu and Senju Hashirama with a silent expression. Chen smiled and glanced at Senju, and suddenly said bluntly, "I refuse." Refuse. In a word, let Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama and Namikaze Minato all look at Chen. I really don't understand why Chen refused. However, seeing Chen looking at Senju Hashirama, he said softly, "Senju Hashirama, I have to admit that the conditions you offered are indeed very generous, but for me, I already don't care. Hokage, Konoha, or glory, power, I don't care. Still care about these things after I achieve 6 paths. For me, no matter. Konoha or Hokage, it's just passing by." Chen looked at Senju Hashirama, the 9 Gudodama truth-seeking ball on his body spun back and forth, showing his astonishing strength. Senju Hashirama sighed lightly, "It is indeed such a card. Chen can reach the strength of 6 paths, how can he care that other people can have such strength? Chen has proved everything. The only thing Chen still has in mind at the moment is to pursue the supreme power, achieve the strongest power, and surpass Kagaya Haim. Other things, especially Hokage, Chen really doesn't like it. Plan, he deliberately got rid of the 3 generations through the hand of Orochimaru, and finally let Tsunade take the position and become Hokage. After Tsunade became Hokage and took control of Konoha, it was actually the same as Tatsuya Konoha Master in his hand. So, facing Senju Hashirama's words, Chen chose to refuse without hesitation. Hokage, Chen doesn't care anymore. Chen. Namikaze Minato sighed lightly, with a look of pity in his eyes, sighed softly, and said, "Chen, if you can become Hokage, you can solve the current situation in Konoha village now, isn't that bad?" Namikaze Minato is Tatsu's best friend, and he is the one who wants Tatsu back to Konoha village the most. Namikaze Minato also sincerely said, "Chen, you are stronger than me. If you become Hokage, you will definitely become the strongest Hokage in all generations, and you will also be able to develop Konoha." But Chen shook his head. "Isn't there Tsunade in the village? I'll leave this matter to Tsunade, anyway, she's still the granddaughter of the first Hokage." Tsunade. Senju Hashirama's expression moved slightly, remembering Tsunade the last time he saw him. The last time Orochimaru channeled Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama out to deal with Chen, that time Senju Hashirama also met Tsunade. Senju Hashirama thought of this, and also showed a bit of emotion. "We are really old, Tsunade, she has grown up, I can stand alone." While feeling emotional, Senju Hashirama said, "Uchiha Chen, it seems that our battle can only end here, we have to go back to Konoha and stabilize the current situation of Konoha." Jang. 530 Please stop fighting. Open black lens bracket, ~~~ close black lens bracket. Chen narrowed his eyes and said lightly, "Really? That's a pity, Senju Hashirama, it's a pity not to be in the same era as you, it's a pity." "Thank you for the compliment." Senju Hashirama also took a deep look at Chen and said, "This is also my honor. I met Uchiha Madara, and he misses you very much." Chen suddenly chuckled and said. Senju Hashirama was stunned for a moment, and his expression suddenly changed. "It's impossible that you have seen Uchiha Madara. After the Battle of the Valley of the End, I was with him." Senju Hashirama was stunned for a moment and looked at Shang Chen. Chen smiled mysteriously and said softly, "You will know when the time comes, and you will meet again." "What are you?" Senju Hashirama also found that he couldn't see through the Uchiha Chen in front of him at all. He knew what was going on. Senju Hashirama looked at Chen in shock, with disbelief in his eyes. Senju Tobarama sneered and said, "Stop making an alarmist statement, Uchiha-chan, what you said is absolutely impossible." Uchiha Madara was killed by my elder brother long ago. How could he still be alive, and how could you have seen him? Senju Tobarama, you are too naive. Chen glanced at Senju Tobarama, ignored Senju Tobarama, looked at Senju Tobarama as if he was looking at ants, making Senju Tobarama even more annoyed. Damn. Senju Tobarama was directly despised by Chen's eyes, and felt even more upset. Chen shrugged, ignoring Senju Tobarama, but turned to look at Namikaze Minato, and said, Minato, don't worry, your son Uzumaki Naruto, I will help you take care of one or two. When Namikaze Minato heard Chen say this, he immediately nodded, and nodded heavily. Then thank you, Chen, I should be grateful to you no matter what. Why so? Chen smiled, and was not as polite as Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato said, you must also take care of yourself. This time I can be released by impure world reincarnation, and I can see Konoha and you again. I am also satisfied. Namikaze Minato sighed softly, sighed with emotion, and sighed in his heart. Seeing Namikaze Minato's sighing expression, Chen's mouth also showed a smile, and said softly, Naruto is living a good life now, I will take care of him a lot. Excuse you. This time we say goodbye, and I don't know when we will see each other again. But seeing Namikaze Minato sighed with emotion, Chen smiled and said mysteriously, there will be a chance. Chen's words contained deep meaning, because he also knew very well that in a short while, he would indeed meet Namikaze Minato and others again. But by then, I'm afraid it will be after Obito. Chen narrowed his eyes. This day will not come too late, and Chen is only in the future, no longer far away. Well, I just hope I can finally see Naruto again. But I heard Namikaze Minato say. Chen smiled, yes. Namikaze Minato left in an instant, and Chen's mouth also showed a slight smile. Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama and Namikaze Minato are all planning to return to Konoha while the effect of impure world reincarnation has not been lifted, and take over the overall situation of Konoha. Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama, Namikaze Minato are all ready to leave, and Chen doesn't plan to keep Raichi Cave. After all, Raichi Cave doesn't matter to Chen at all. At this time, the White Snake Immortal shouted, wait. Oh, Immortal White Snake, I don't know what else to teach you. Chen glanced at the White Snake Immortal. Not far from the White Snake Immortal, Wan Shi was rolling on the ground, dying and bleeding all over the place. Obviously, after Chen cut off his tail, Wan Shi was also seriously injured. Immortal White Snake's eyes were full of anger at this time, looking at Chen coldly, with a strong anger. Raichi Cave is a place where you can come and go whenever you want. Immortal White Snake looked at Chen coldly, you can't pretend to be Immortal White Snake. Even if I treat you as a decoration, what can you do to me? Chen Wei smiled and said lightly. You can help me. Chen's words are full of domineering, indifferent voice, making the White Snake Immortal even more angry, completely shocked. You! White Snake Immortal roared, you can't leave today so easily. The White Snake Immortal was also provoked by Chen, and the annoyance in his eyes kept flashing. So it seems that you want me to dismantle you, Raichi Cave. Chen said lightly. Between the words, a strong pressure emerged, and Chen said lightly, Seal of Senluo. The big hand that suppressed Senju Hashirama's Mokuden wood style appeared again, falling from the sky and falling straight down. The palm of this big hand almost contained everything, even the master of yin and yang, life and death, and exploded. Out! Immortal White Snake hurriedly used Sage Art to resist. Senpo, Sage Art, the door of reincarnation. The gate of reincarnation. I only saw a gate similar to Rashomon appeared on the earth. This gate resisted Chen's attack, and the White Snake Fairy showed great strength. However, under the pressure of Chen's Seal of Senluo, he saw that the Seal of Senluo had a breath of life. Life and death, yin and yang seemed to be condensed in the hand, and a terrifying force erupted, causing the White Snake Fairy to vomit blood. Flew upside down hundreds of meters in an instant. And Raichi Cave was a landslide, and countless large snakes died, and the 10,000 snakes shivered with fear. At this time, this brutal psychic beast also screamed, "Please don't fight, if you fight again, the whole Raichi cave will be destroyed. It's going to blow up." The power of the seal of Senluo was verified, even the white snake immortal could not resist it, and flew out backwards, blood gushing wildly. White snake immortal turned pale and shouted, "Uchiha Chen, you wait, I, Raichi cave, will not let you go. Okay, I'll wait for you and see what you can do." Chen's voice came, and the person had already drifted away. 531 Goodbye Tsunade, Battle of Hokage. Chen's figure has drifted away and disappeared in this place. In the Raichi cave, there is a crashing sound everywhere. Countless psychic beasts and snakes have been killed and injured, and the snakes all fell to the ground, blood flowing into rivers. This day is simply a disastrous day for Raichi cave. The countless large snakes in Raichi cave have suffered countless casualties, and I deeply remember this nightmarish name. Uchiha Chen. Especially one snake, it was so painful that it kept rolling on the ground and kept rolling, and no longer had the arrogant demeanor before. Obviously, Chen gave it the biggest lesson. 10,000 snakes rolled and wailed on the ground, and Chen's figure had long since floated away. As for the white snake immortal, her eyes flickered even more. She looked slightly gloomy in the direction where Chen was going. A trace of anger flashed in her eyes, but there was nothing she could do about Chen. HMPH, it's really hateful. You think your strength has reached the level of 6 paths immortal. I can't do anything about you. Damn it, when I find the big toad immortal and the slug immortal, the 3 immortals will join forces, then see what you will do. Immortal white snake flashed thick anger in her eyes. She was extremely annoyed in her heart, and she was extremely disgusted with Chen. But the white snake immortal soon remembered something, and his eyes flashed, thinking of the big toad immortal and the slug immortal. Although Chen is currently strong, he is not invincible. If he can find these 2 immortals to join forces, it is enough to deal with Uchiha Chen. Even with the strength of the 6 paths level, the 3 immortals of the 3 holy lands in front of him will feel unusual pressure. White snake immortal thought for a while, her eyes flashed slightly, and she bit Kiba fiercely. In fact, the relationship between the white snake immortal, the big toad immortal and the slug immortal is not very good, and it can only be said that it is very ordinary, but in the face of the humiliation Chen brought him this time, the white snake immortal soon had a choice, and decided to have a relationship with the big one. The toad fairy and the slug fairy joined forces. Seeing the corpses of the big snakes all over the ground, the white snake immortal was heartbroken. These big snakes are all his loyal subordinates, but they are all made into such a mess by Chen. It is really irritating. The white snake immortal is extremely angry. Chen didn't know anything about it, because he arrived at Konoha soon. Konoha village. On the outskirts of Konoha, most of the place is now in ruins, with smoke billowing everywhere, and it is extremely depressed. Most of the buildings were collapsed, there were screams, and refugees from Konoha could be seen everywhere. The most conspicuous is the place where Chen used the Super Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign. The Super Shinra Tensei Almighty Push sign was released, forming a huge pit with a length of more than 10 miles, if not used by Senju Hashirama and others. If the 4 red sun formations resisted, then Konoha was really beaten by Chen alone. At this time, Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama, and Namikaze Minato were in charge of the Konoha situation, while Tatsuyasu was moving in his heart, ready to find Tsunade. Konoha is currently facing the toughest choice. The current situation is such that Dai Hokage died and most of Konoha was destroyed because of Tatsu and Senju Hashirama. The battle between Orochimaru and others is going through a difficult time right now. At present, Konoha's top priority is nothing else but to elect a Hokage. That's right, to elect a Hokage. As the saying goes, a country cannot be without an owner. Without Hokage, the village of Konoha would be extremely dangerous, especially the surrounding Sunagakure village, Kumogakure village and other villages are eyeing. Konoha is facing one problem after another. Without Hokage, Konoha could easily fall into crisis again. Therefore, under such circumstances, the election of Hokage has become the primary issue. At present, the senior management of Konoha has entered into urgent discussions. There are 3 candidates for Hokage selected by everyone. 3. One is Jiraiya, who is currently the most vocal. There is no doubt about Jiraiya's strength, and he is also one of the 3 generations of direct disciples, one of the legendary Sannin, who is in his prime. The second is Tsunade, the granddaughter of the first Hokage, one of Sannin, but in recent years Tsunade has been wandering outside and rarely appears in the village, so his voice is slightly weaker than Jiraiya. Moreover, Tsunade is also a daughter, and there has never been a woman in Hokage in all dynasties, so everyone still has some doubts, so Tsunade's voice is less. The third is Homura Mitokado. Homura Mitokado was previously a high-ranking officer of Konoha, one of the 2 elder advisors. After Chen killed Danzo, Homura Mitokado became the leader of the Root organization, replacing Danzo Master as the Root. These 3 are the current 3 candidates for Konoha Hokage. Chen also knew the current situation, so after learning of this situation, Chen immediately went to find Tsunade. This time Tsunade must be in. Chen instructed Orochimaru to kill the 3 generations of Hokage. One of the purposes is to make Tsunade successfully become the 5th generation of Hokage, and control the Konoha village in his hands. After all, Tsunade is her woman, how can she not do anything bad to Chen? At this point on, Chen is still very relieved. Chen thought for a while, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he quickly found where Tsunade was. Where Tsunade lives is hidden from others, but not from Chen. Chen found the place where Tsunade lived, but saw that it was a small courtyard. Since the Senju clan withered, Tsunade moved out of the Senju clan and lived in a city far away from the village, but it was still in the fire. Within the country. As soon as Chen arrived at the place where Tsunade lived, he smelled a faint smell of alcohol, and he could not help frowning. Tsunade, a woman, actually drank and smelled alcohol. Chen looked around, but couldn't find Tsunade's figure. With a move in my heart, I immediately thought of where Tsunade would definitely be. Casino. Tsunade's addiction to gambling is absolute. Tatsuya knows it very well, and this is a bad habit handed down from the first Hokage. Thinking of this, Chen quickly went to a nearby casino, and sure enough, he saw a familiar figure. 532. Every gamble will lose the big fat sheep. Open black lens bracket. Ask for a reward. Close black lens bracket. Chen soon found a nearby casino, and inside the casino, Chen finally saw Tsunade's long-lost figure. That's right, it's Tsunade. Time flies, but Tsunade's face doesn't seem to have changed at all. Not only because Tsunade stored chakra on his forehead, but also because Chen also taught Tsunade the wood spirit technique that he developed to keep his youth forever. It can be said that Tsunade is definitely in his 20s at this time. Mouth. The beauty of the peak is a bit more beautiful than the original. Long blonde hair, pretty face, exquisite and fascinating. I only saw Tsunade in the casino at this time, holding a wine bottle in one hand and a money box in the other. In front of Tsunade, there was a thick pile of banknotes. At the same time, there are piles of chips. In front of Tsunade were more than a dozen gamblers. From time to time, these gamblers focused their eyes in front of Tsunade. Their eyes flickered, their eyes were bright, and they looked at Tsunade as if they were looking at a big fat sheep. Tsunade looked around the field and said with a light snort, "I'm in a bad mood today. I borrowed a lot of money on purpose, and I want to win back everything I lost before." Master Tsunade. Him, Shizune, the female disciple that Tsunade had accepted, looked at Tsunade and whispered to discourage him, but Tsunade turned a deaf ear, as if he didn't take it all in his eyes. Tsunade was sitting there aggressively, Shizune was holding the pink Yuhi-colored little fat pig and dolphin, and his heart was disturbed, with a completely frightened expression on his face. Shizune knew Tsunade's fiery temper the most. Shizune knew very well that once Tsunade got on the table, he would be a different person, not as calm as he used to be. There seems to be no one who can dissuade Tsunade-sama at the gaming table. Shizune sighed faintly, and secretly said, I don't know how much Tsunade-sama will lose this time, ah. Tsunade's gambling luck can only be described in 4 words. Every gamble will be lost. Tsunade's gambling luck has always been back. To the extreme, every gamble will definitely be lost. How to win. However, Tsunade is a very strong and unconvincing character, so every time Tsunade loses a lot of money, he will borrow usury again, which makes Tsunade famous. These nearby gamblers see Tsunade, just like it's like looking at relatives. They affectionately refer to Tsunade as the legendary fat sheep. This time, without a doubt, Tsunade lost again. Shizune patted his forehead, and saw the chips on the table disappear in piles, and the banknotes disappeared in piles, which made Shizune whisper, I know. The chips on the table quickly disappeared, but Tsunade's face became more and more ugly. This time Tsunade had borrowed a full 20 million, but it was about to lose everything. Tsunade was very unconvinced. He drank it violently, and said angrily, Shizune, go and borrow 10 million for me, I want to exchange chips. Shizune was apprehensive and said, yes. Don't go soon. Tsunade rode. Shizune sighed, knowing that he was on the verge of gambling, and he couldn't stop him at this time, otherwise Master Tsunade would get angry, and the terrifying Shizune turned around and was ready to leave. Moment Shizune turned his head, he saw a young man walking slowly. This young man was wearing a black suit, handsome, especially his eyes, showing purple ripples, mysterious. His handsome appearance and mysterious temperament were definitely something that Shizune had only seen in his life. Shizune's eyes moved slightly, and his focus was on the young man. The young man is of course Chen. This time also noticed Shizune, just chuckled and smiled at Shizune. Seeing Shizune stunned for a moment, Yuhi's dizziness appeared on his face. As if he didn't dare to meet Chen's eyes, he lowered his head slightly. Jing Otogakur couldn't help but whisper, what a handsome man. Shizune, what are you still doing? Don't hurry up and lend me money, but I want to exchange chips. Tsunade whispered. At this time, Chen smiled and finally said, Tsunade, you are gambling again, stop gambling, go home with me obediently. Chen's tone was somewhat domineering and irresistible. Shizune immediately showed a look of consternation, and looked up at Chen suddenly. His face changed. Someone dared to talk to Tsunade like this is simply flirt. But they were all taught a lesson by Tsunade, and no one dared to provoke Tsunade since then. Shizune, who was in front of him, covered his eyes, as if he had met Chen's fate. He must have been beaten tragically by Tsunade-sama's terrifying power. But the scene that followed was completely beyond Shizune's imagination. When Tsunade heard Chen's voice, it was as if he heard something inconceivable, and he turned his head sharply, staring at Chen, his eyes full of surprise. Why are you here? Tsunade's voice turned out to be a gentleness she hadn't noticed herself. Shizune was immediately stunned. What rhythm is this? When have you ever seen Tsunade-sama speak to someone in such a gentle tone? The fire of the 8 trigrams in Shizune's eyes was burning, and he looked at Tatsu, then immediately looked at Tsunade, and immediately at Tatsu. Yes, it's so tricky, it's definitely tricky. Chen coughed and said softly, I'll pick you up, Konoha, the seat of Hokage is currently vacant, I want you to go back with me. Tsunade threw the wine bottle in his hand, and pushed the chips in his hand, and he didn't care about the things at the gaming table, without even looking at the gaming table, and said softly to Chen, okay, let's go. Well. Tsunade directly held Chen's hand, the table was sluggish, and all these gamblers were speechless. What did they see? Tsunade, who has always been fair to any man, was like a docile sheep in front of the man in front of him. Shizune was even more bleeding in his heart, and said silently, it's such a pity, is it actually Tsunade-sama's man, woo. 533 Hokage for you. Tsunade and Chen walked together, and the two left the casino and went outside the casino. At this time, I saw Shizune following along, quietly pricked up his ears, hugged the piggy pig, and looked at Chen stupidly, as if he wanted to see what happened to Chen and Tsunade. But seeing Tsunade snuggling next to Chen, he whispered, "Chen, why haven't you come to see me all this time?" Tsunade asked. Chen smiled. In fact, Chen wanted to find Tsunade during this period of time, but there were always delays, so Chen and Tsunade really didn't meet a few times. But Chen knew Tsunade's heart. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He held Tsunade's hand apologetically, and said softly, "Thank you, Tsunade." Tsunade was stunned for a moment, but his expression was softer, while Shizune beside him had a hellish expression. Anyway, she had never seen Tsunade-sama cover up. A strong character will also encounter such a situation. Tsunade looked at Chen and said in a low voice, "What the hell are you saying about the position of Hokage hanging in the air?" At this time, Tsunade didn't know the news of the death of the third Hokage, and immediately looked at Chen with a little doubt. Chen briefly recounted the matter. Upon hearing the news of Hokage's death, Tsunade's eyes flashed with shock, and when he heard the news of Orochimaru, he shook his head slightly. 3 generations of Hokage actually died, so now it's me, Jiraiya and Homura Mitokado competing for the position of Hokage. Tsunade rode. Chen nodded lightly and said softly, "That's right, that's right, the 3 of you are currently competing for the position of Hokage. Among them, Jiraiya, I don't think I want to be a Hokage, and he is likely to give up. In fact, in theory, Jiraiya is definitely the best candidate to be Hokage, but Jiraiya herself doesn't really want to be Hokage. The reason is very simple. Jiraiya has always felt guilty about Orochimaru leaving Konoha but failed to stop it, so he hasn't had quite the Hokage idea. Otherwise, after the death of Namikaze Minato, Jiraiya can be Hokage completely, and there is no need to continue to be Hokage for 3 generations. Therefore, Jiraiya himself does not have a strong desire to be Hokage. Although Jiraiya is the most suitable candidate for Konoha at present, he himself does not want to be. Even Jiraiya has a great possibility to recommend Tsunade as Hokage as in the original. After all, Jiraiya's feelings for Tsunade are needless to say. It's no secret that Jiraiya has always liked Tsunade. Just that Jiraiya likes Tsunade, but she is a little frivolous, so Tsunade hates it for a while. I know, I'll try to be, so I can help you, right? Tsunade rode. Yeah, but I'll tell you first, things are a bit more complicated for Konoha right now. Chen coughed and said. Ah. Tsunade looked at Chen in confusion. But seeing Chen Dao, at present, is the situation where the 3 Hokage are gathered together. Orochimaru used a ninjutsu called Impure World Reincarnation to summon the 3 Hokages, Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobirama and Suiman, and these 3 Hokages are currently in the village. Take charge. Chen said truthfully. Impure World Reincarnation. Tsunade was stunned for a moment. Hearing Tatsu's words, he felt completely unbelievable. Of course, Tsunade knew about Impure World Reincarnation. She met Senju Hashirama because of the ninjutsu of Impure World Reincarnation. But this time Orochimaru went too far, and actually directly channeled 3 Hokage Chen. Well, you will know when you go. Well, no matter what. How, I must become Hokage. The Tsunade at this time is completely different from the decadent Tsunade in the original book. Today's Tsunade wants to be a Hokage for Chen's sake. It is completely different from the original book where she didn't want to be a Hokage at all. Under such circumstances, Chen was also moved, because Chen knew very well that everything Tsunade did was because of him. Chen glanced at Tsunade, and his face became softer. Although he didn't speak, he had a soft feeling towards Tsunade. Then let's go. Tsunade is also impatient, and after being warm with Tatsu for a while, he left quickly and went to Konoha with Tatsu. Konoha Village was much more peaceful at this time. The Impure World Reincarnation of Senju Hashirama and others has not been cancelled, which made Tatsu puzzled. Could it be that Orochimaru is really dead? In the presence of Senju Hashirama and others, Konoha village finally gradually has the backbone. Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama and Namikaze Minato all maintain the stability of Konoha. And Tsunade went to the village. At this time, Jiraiya, who has been traveling all over the world, has finally returned. Jiraiya, Tsunade, the two Sannin, both appeared in the village, Konoha village, and finally began to recover gradually. Everything that was destroyed began to be rebuilt. Tsunade, Jiraiya and others returned to Konoha. They first met three Hokages including Senju Hashirama. Chen has been following behind Tsunade from beginning to end, watching everything silently. Although Senju Hashirama and others are members of the Impure World Reincarnation, there is no doubt that they have made contributions to Konoha, and the people of Konoha also believe in the three. And the strength of Senju Hashirama's 3x3 has also been recognized, so the entire Konoha high level is currently dominated by 3x3. They are discussing the issue of Hokage candidates right now. Just as Chen expected, Jiraiya first expressed that he did not want to be a Hokage, and asked everyone to give up the position of Hokage to Tsunade. In the case that Jiraiya does not want to be Hokage, Hokage naturally falls into Tsunade without any suspense, and Tsunade has become the 5th generation of Hokage. Please automatically reward the heir. 534 A different ninja world, a quietly changed plot. Tsunade became the 5th generation of Hokage, and Chen also played a role in it, especially Chen's remarks to Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama, which made Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama, Namikaze Minato agree with Tsunade as Hokage, and Kaharu Udatane, the elders of Konoha. Although there were quite a few criticisms in their hearts, there was nothing they could do. Could only watch the arrival of the Fire Nation's daimyo, and officially appointed Tsunade as the 5th Hokage. Daimyo and Hokage is actually quite special. The daimyo is equivalent to the head of state of each country, but it is only the head of state in name, but most of the power status is in the hands of the master of each country. Especially the military power, all the ninjas are under the control of the shadows. Under such circumstances, these heads of states are no different from puppets. Tsunade became the Hokage, becoming the most eye-catching existence in Konoha at present, and the 5th-generation Hokage Shadow Rock that belongs to him is also under construction. From the 1st Hokage to the 5th Hokage, Konoha village went through a long process, and finally came to Tsunade to become the 5th Hokage. After Tsunade became Hokage, as soon as the news was announced, the village became much more stable. The whole village seemed to have a backbone, and everyone agreed that Tsunade was Hokage. Congratulations, Tsunade, the first female Hokage in Konoha history. Chen stood by Tsunade's side at this time, smiled, took Tsunade's hand, and said softly. Although the situation is different from the original, with the interference of Senju Hashirama and other 3 people, the final result is still the same. Tsunade became the 5th Hokage. After Tsunade became Hokage, the whole person is completely different, and it also exudes a different brilliance, which seems to become more moving. Tsunade is originally different from ordinary little girl-type girls. Tsunade is a strong woman type, only in front of Chen will she show the side of a little woman. That's actually the case. Tsunade faced Chen, pulled Chen's arm lightly, and chuckled. It's just a coincidence, and you also know that I don't have the ambition to be a Hokage. On the contrary, I just want to help you. That's it. Tsunade is well aware that Tatsu is currently doing something big, so Tsunade's idea is just to help Tatsu. It's that simple. The current Chen is indeed a need. Help, and temporarily maintain the stability of the ninja world, so that he can develop and have prospects. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on the corner of Chen's mouth. What are you going to do next? Tsunade looked at Chen and said, your idea is to unify the world of ninjas, but with your current strength, wouldn't you have been able to unify the world long ago? Why is it so troublesome? Tsunade knew of Chen's thoughts, and Chen wanted to unify the ninja world, and he had great talent. In fact, the time was already ripe, but Tsunade never saw Chen start, so it was very strange. Chen smiled and said softly, "The time has not yet come. Although it is possible to forcibly use force to unify, it is not the best time. Chen's current strength is very terrifying, and has even reached the strongest state. It can be said that almost no one in the entire ninja world is Chen's opponent one-on-one. But even so, Chen doesn't think it's good to unify the ninja world now. 1. The use of force to unify the ninja world will definitely cause a large-scale backlash, and several major countries will not obey. 2nd, in the future, Kagayaheim will still be watching, and now that the ninja world is unified, we will face Kagayaheim in the future, and things will still be troublesome. Simply, Chenbing does not intend to unify the ninja world, and it is the best way to indirectly control the ninja world through Tsunade, Terumi-mei. Although Tsunade was puzzled, he nodded in agreement, expressing his approval of Chen's idea. Chen smiled, took Tsunade's hand lightly, and said with a smile, "You can rest assured, everything is in my master. I already have a basic understanding of the current situation. Well, by the way, there is one more thing. The 4th generation of Hokage Namikaze Minato and his son Uzumaki Naruto met. You have been paying attention to the situation of Namikaze Minato, right?" At this time, Tsunade said. Chen was stunned for a moment. Just remembered that because of the special circumstances of Orochimaru Impure World reincarnation this time, Namikaze Minato met Uzumaki Naruto in advance, and the plot also changed slightly inadvertently. Now Uzumaki Naruto is different from the original situation. The plot quietly changed. Let Chen heart move. 535 One Whip to Ninja World. The most terrifying enemy. Chen heard about the meeting between Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Naruto, and he was also quite curious, and was very surprised. After all, Namikaze Minato and Uchiha Chen were in a completely different situation. Chen himself was also very curious. Chen quietly found Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Naruto, but saw Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Naruto standing right next to each other. Naruto's eyes were filled with excitement. "It is joy and shock. You said that you are my father and my father is actually the 4th generation of Hokage. This is true. Well, Naruto, you are indeed my child. I'm so sorry, it was the Kyuubi Nine-Tails Demon Fox incident that I didn't protect you and your mother back then." Namikaze Minato sighed and said softly. Naruto shook his head quickly and said, "I didn't expect my father to be the 4th Hokage, that's great." Naruto looked excited, and there was a strong sense of surprise in his eyes. Naruto had been yearning for Hokage since he was a child, and in a subtle way, he himself admired the 4th generation of Hokage, and almost regarded Namikaze Minato as the most respected person. "I didn't expect that I was actually the son of the 4th generation of Hokage, and my heart was suddenly filled with deep joy. He is not an abandoned person, he also has parents. He is not abandoned." Thinking of this, Naruto's heart is full of joy, showing a deep smile, looking at Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato was also very excited and delighted when the father and son recognized each other. The early recognition of Naruto and Namikaze Minato was beyond Tatsu's expectations, and inadvertently, due to Tatsu's appearance and intervention, many plots were changed. Fortunately, this change is still under Chen's control. Naruto smiled happily, and Namikaze Minato also had a somewhat relieved look on his face. Chen's eye watched Naruto and Namikaze Minato meet again, and he was also slightly emotional, and soon his figure disappeared in place. Chen's figure disappeared, and Konoha's situation finally settled down. According to the direction of the plot, Naruto and Sasuke should break up next, but unfortunately I don't know what happened to Orochimaru. Chen whispered to himself. Chen is still thinking about Orochimaru. The country of Tien, Orochimaru's secret base, in the laboratory. At this time, a surprising scene appeared. I only saw Gatong Maru falling to the ground, and from the curse mark in the body, Orochimaru's figure emerged, and the mucus belonging to the snake was everywhere, making people feel goosebumps and horrified. Orochimaru drilled out of Kitamaru's body curse, and saw Orochimaru's face pale, lying on the ground gasping for breath, which seemed to be extremely exhausting. Lord Orochimaru, you and I, according to your instructions, use the curse mark on Kitamaru to bring you back to life. But seeing Orochimaru beside him, Kabuto looked at the pill, adjusted his glasses, and said with a concerned expression. Orochimaru nodded slightly, took a breath and said, "You did a great job. I really didn't expect that this time I would be forced to such a point, and my body also showed a great rejection reaction. It seems that this container has reached its limit." Now is when Orochimaru is at his weakest. He was almost instantly killed by Chen. His body is fragile, and he is always on the verge of collapse. Under such circumstances, Orochimaru's body was already rooted. If he couldn't reach his limit, his strength was greatly damaged, and this body wouldn't last long. Uchiha Chen. Orochimaru bit Kiba and gnashed his teeth. "It's abominable, Uchiha-chan, don't let me turn over, or else." Hearing the name of Uchiha Chen, Kabuto's eyes flashed with fear, as if he remembered the original Chen. "Of course, I have met Chen, and I once challenged Chen naively, but was defeated by Chen very easily." The meaning of the words Uchiha-chan is already like a ghost to ordinary ninjas, and I have seen it with my own eyes. It is powerful, so I feel very different. Unexpectedly, Orochimaru-sama was also in awe of Uchiha-chen this time. As expected of Uchiha-chen, this power is really scary and even terrifying. Orochimaru-sama, whom he feared most, couldn't do anything about Uchiha-chen. "But I know how terrifying the impure world reincarnation technique is." But obviously, impure world reincarnation is of no use to Chen. "What's going on with Uchiha-chen? All the information is collected and told to me." Orochimaru shouted angrily. "Yes. It is also responsible for all information in the ninja world, just like Orochimaru's eyes." Telling Orochimaru everything, Orochimaru's face turned even blue after reading the information. "That guy Tsunade is actually a Hokage. What a shame. Not only Tsunade, but also Mizukage Terumime of Kurigakure village. I heard that he has a relationship with Uchiha-chen. The two ninja villages of Kurigakure village and Konoha village are obviously Shang-chen. Damn it, Uchiha-chen, is he trying to subdue the ninja world with a whip?" Orochimaru spoke coldly, with a chilling tone. Even though it is a bit ridiculous to say that with a whip, it is even more terrifying when you think about it carefully. Chen's current situation shows that the two villages of Kurigakure village and Konoha village are all Chen's women. It can only be said that Chen is not only strong and powerful, but this woman's relationship is also tingling. I was even more uneasy and didn't know how to answer. Orochimaru coughed with a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth, and he whispered, "Notify the remaining ninjas in Otogakure that the top priority and goal now is to bring Uchiha Sasuke back to me, and my new container is him. Uchiha-chan, when I have Sharingan, I will be just like you." 536 Everything is up to you. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. Orochimaru can't wait for Sasuke's arrival, as he desperately needs a body container. Orochimaru's body deteriorated this time, and his condition was very serious. "Hopefully Uchiha-chan doesn't know the news that I'm still alive. We'll do it right now. Base, don't be discovered by Uchiha-chan and others." Orochimaru whispered towards the road. "Yes." Seeing Orochimaru being extremely weak and sweating profusely at this time, his awe for Chen rose to a higher level. He shook his head, and felt extremely emotional. Chen's strength actually left a deep impression, so at this time, he was also worried about Chen, and sighed with emotion in his heart. "Yes, Orochimaru-sama, I see." Road. Orochimaru's base was transferred overnight, and at the same time, Orochimaru also unlocked the technique of impure world reincarnation. Art of impure world reincarnation, solution. Orochimaru gave a loud shout. At this time, only Konoha, Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama, Namikaze Minato, who were thousands of miles away, had their bodies changed, and all three of them had little spots of light, and their bodies gradually began to dissipate, only to see the impure world reincarnation on Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama, and Namikaze Minato's trio of three has started to disappear. Under such circumstances, Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobarama and Namikaze Minato all knew that they were about to leave. Is this the end of the impure world reincarnation? Senju Hashirama chuckled softly. I am really unwilling to leave like this. Senju Tobarama narrowed his eyes, revealing a hint of unwillingness in his eyes. Yes, it's a pity. Namikaze Minato is even the most reluctant one, because Naruto met Naruto just now. Naruto and Namikaze Minato only met each other, and the father-son relationship was the strongest. Namikaze Minato sighed softly. Not only Namikaze Minato, but also Naruto. Naruto saw a little light on Namikaze Minato, and even dissipated. He looked at Namikaze Minato reluctantly and said, "Dad. Naruto, take good care of yourself, don't let me down, I believe you can become Hokage, and the strongest Hokage. Also, if you are really in trouble, find someone named Uchiha Chen, he is my best companion and will definitely help you." But I saw Namikaze Minato whispering, "Brother Chen." Naruto was stunned, he immediately understood who Namikaze Minato was talking about. Namikaze Minato smiled and said relievedly, "It seems that you have already arrived. I am relieved to have him take care of and help you." Namikaze Minato spoke softly. "Looks like it's time for us to leave." Senju Hashirama spoke softly. Around, I saw countless crowds gathered in the village week. The villagers of Konoha village were all watching this scene, watching the three Hokages they loved and their bodies were about to disappear. Meaning, the villagers of Konoha were completely sighed with emotion, and they were very sad. Because of the status of the three Hokage in Konoha village, it goes without saying that they are absolutely supreme. Now that the three Hokages are about to leave, the villagers feel extremely uncomfortable. It's not in vain this time. I can see Konoha village again, feel the breath of the village again, step on this land, and even see the voice of the village. I have no regrets. The only thing is, Uchiha Chen he. But seeing Senju Hashirama sighed softly, Uchiha Chen actually refuses to be Hokage. That's the only thing that makes me uncomfortable. Big brother, you've been good enough to him. I don't even know why you're so optimistic about that kid in the Uchiha family. Senju Tobarama was very dissatisfied and said with a light snort. Namikaze Minato looked at Senju Tobarama and said lightly, "That's because you have never been in contact with Chen. Chen's strength and potential are absolutely unimaginable, and you also heard what the White Snake Immortal said. He and Six Paths Immortal have a problem. You still have prejudice against him in a normal relationship." Senju Tobarama heard Namikaze Minato say that, and couldn't help but snorted, and finally stopped talking. Senju Tobarama, I hope that when we meet you next time, you won't continue to speak ill of people behind your back, otherwise I won't be as simple as destroying your arms. At this time, Chen's cold voice came. Chen's voice came out, causing Senju Tobarama to step back abruptly, looking at Chen with a stunned look in his eyes. Unexpectedly, Tatsuyao had arrived, but Senju Tobarama never noticed it. Chen glanced at Senju Tobarama. Senju Tobarama only felt that under Chen's eyes, a powerful momentum came, and the shocking chakra display made him feel the great pressure of impure world reincarnation. This is enough to show that Chen's strength is completely beyond his imagination at this time. Senju Tobarama also saw this with his own eyes, knowing that Chen's strength is far beyond his, but at this moment he has a strange premonition. Feeling to Chen's strength seems to have become more and more unfathomable. Chen's strength is really so strong. Senju Tobarama's eyes are full of deep surprise, and he no longer speaks. "Tobarama, don't be rude." Senju Hashirama reprimanded Senju Tobarama. At this time, everyone in Konoha village looked at Chen. The countless villagers of Konoha, as well as Kakashi, Guy, Asuma, Yuhi and other ninjas, all of them focused on Chen, and their eyes were full of surprise. I didn't expect Chen to come at such a time. Seeing Chen's arrival, everyone in Konoha was surprised. Their thoughts towards Chen were actually very strange. One hand, these ninjas are in awe of Chen. On the other hand, they are all shocked by Chen's strength, and after all, Chen is a ninja who defected from Konoha, and they are all very sorry. If Tatsun hadn't been pushed away by Danzo, it would have been so good that many Konoha ninjas thought so. Chen, after we leave, everything will be left to you. Namikaze Minato's solemn way. 537 Kurenai Yuhi's resolute. Chen, after we leave, everything will be left to you. However, seeing Namikaze Minato speaking solemnly, looking at Shang Chen earnestly, he said solemnly. Chen smiled, glanced at Naruto in the distance, then looked at Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobarama, and everyone in Konoha. Chen closed everyone's expressions in his eyes, a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and Chen said softly, I will do my best, but there are some things I don't want me to participate in too much. After all, I am no longer from Konoha. Already. Chen's words undoubtedly draw a clear line with Konoha. Although the current Tsunade has become the 5th generation Hokage, Chen has always drawn a clear line with Konoha, saying that he is no longer a Konoha person. Today's Konoha, as well as other countries, have all distanced themselves from Chen, and Chen does not want to have any connection with them. Hey! However, seeing Namikaze Minato himself sighed, a sigh appeared in his eyes, and at the same time seeing Senju Hashirama also sighed, feeling extremely emotional. Both Namikaze Minato and Senju Hashirama can feel the estrangement between Tatsu and Konoha. It seems that Danzo's actions at the beginning have created an estrangement between Tatsu and Konoha, between the Uchiha family and Konoha that can never be healed. Thinking of this, both Senju Hashirama and Namikaze Minato felt a lot of regrets. If not, with Chen's current strength, he must be in Konoha. Konoha is defying the ninja world, enough to go sideways in the ninja world. The impure world reincarnation of Namikaze Minato, Senju Hashirama, and Senju Tobarama gradually dissipated. Seeing that they were almost disappearing, Namikaze Minato took a deep look at Chen and said, Let's go, take care. Take care. Looked at Namikaze Minato and said in a low voice. The bodies of the three of Namikaze Minato's three dissipated, turning into little dots of light. The bodies of the three of Namikaze Minato's three dissipated, completely dissipated in this world. Dad. Naruto's eyes, and the tears rolled down his face and dripped down his face, making Naruto feel a little sad. Chen looked at the situation of the villagers in the distant village, and found that these villagers were also sighing and weeping, and they all sighed with emotion. They were all fascinated by this scene and felt that these villagers really respected the three Hokages. It's totally shocking. Things are over. The three of Senju Hashirama have all dissipated, and Chen is also very meaningful, which means that the technique of impure world reincarnation has been released, which means that Orochimaru is indeed still alive. However, Chen doesn't intend to look for trouble for the time being, because Chen doesn't want to completely destroy the plot in the original work. If the plot becomes uncontrollable, it will be troublesome. So Chen plans to learn from others. It's over. Relief, and feeling a sense of relief, Chen looked at Naruto and patted Naruto on the shoulder. At this time, Naruto moved the corners of his mouth and murmured, Brother Chen. Naruto respected Chen very much at this time, and everyone in Konoha didn't know that it was Chen who killed the 3 generations of Hokage with the help of Orochimaru, so everyone's impression of Chen was in awe. Even said that Chen is still extremely respected and prestige in the hearts of his peers and juniors Konoha village ninjas. Well, Naruto, if there is anything you don't understand about ninjutsu in the future, you can come to me at any time, or ask Tsunade to help you. Chen said lightly. For Naruto, Chen agreed to Namikaze Minato, so he took good care of Naruto. For friends, Chen Yinu Kyonjin. Yes. Naruto's eyes flashed with emotion, and he nodded seriously. Chen smiled and stopped talking to Naruto. In fact, facing Naruto, Chen still feels a little weird, because there is a Hinata between Naruto and Chen. Chen's relationship with Hinata is not normal now, and Hyuga Hanabi even yelled at Chen's brother-in-law, making Chen even a little speechless. Thinking of Hinata, Chen also knew that it was time for him to meet Hinata. In fact, the little princess of the Hyuga family is also in the crowd at this moment. Hyuga Hinata looked at Chen from a distance, but the moment she made eye contact with Chen, she saw that Hinata had already turned her eyes shyly, like it was a frightened little rabbit who looked away, with a thick shyness flashing in his eyes, avoiding the touch between Chen's eyes. Chen smiled. He was very aware of Hinata's shy character, but at this time, he turned around and was about to approach Hinata when he felt a figure flash past, and a person appeared in front of Chen. Chen raised his eyebrows slightly and saw who this person was. Kurenai Yuhi, once a student of Chen. Kurenai Yuhi was already very slim at this time, exactly the same as in the original book. She looked very attractive, with black hair and Yuhi eyes. She looked like a goddess. She appeared in front of Chen. Master Chen. Kurenai Yuhi looked at Chen in his eyes. His eyes were clear with a hint of brilliance. Yuhi, you are getting more and more beautiful. What are you looking for from me? Chen asked. Hearing Chen's compliment, a look of joy appeared in the eyes of Japanese Yuhi, and then turned to look at Chen seriously. Lord Chen, I want to leave with you. 538 Sasuke runs away. Chen Duo was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Kurenai Yuhi's attitude in front of him to be so firm. Kurenai Yuhi's performance made Chen Duo's eyes look surprised. Kurenai Yuhi's performance reminded Chen immediately of following in the original plot. The expressions of those around Orochimaru, such as Yuhi Lien, Kimimaro and others like Kurenai Yuhi, are clearly a little fanatical, with reverence, and with a clear love. Chen immediately understood Kurenai Yuhi's thoughts, which made Chen couldn't help looking at Kurenai Yuhi, with a smile on the corner of his mouth, and said, you sure don't regret it. Demonic Illusion by Kurenai Yuhi was taught by Tatsu. Both Kurenai Yuhi and Uchiha Shisui were taught Demonic Illusion by Chen respectively, and both demonic illusions were controlled by Chen. Kurenai Yuhi saw Chen asking this question, looked at Chen firmly, and said seriously, well, I'm sure, I want to follow you all the time, even if I betray Konoha. Yuhi, you are so impulsive. Guy looked at Kurenai Yuhi sadly, and Asuma in the distance saw this scene. His heart felt like a lightning strike. He always had a good impression of Kurenai Yuhi, but Kurenai Yuhi always had a cold attitude towards him. At this time, Asuma knew that he was in Kurenai Yuhi's heart. There has always been one person. Kakashi sighed. He was silent, but he didn't speak anymore. Chen looked at Kurenai Yuhi, could feel Kurenai Yuhi's serious eyes, felt Kurenai Yuhi's heart at this moment, which made Chen slightly decapitated, and finally said seriously, if that's the case, then come with me. Hearing Chen's words, Kurenai Yuhi's eyes finally burst into a hint of excitement. He nodded earnestly, and looked at Chen's eyes full of gratitude. Okay. Lord Chen, I will definitely not disappoint you. I know. Chen smiled. Since it's decided, then make a scratch on the forehead. Chen said lightly. Yes. Hearing what Daochen said, Kurenai Yuhi immediately scratched and drew a clearly visible scratch on his forehead. The appearance of this scratch means that things can no longer be changed, and Kurenai Yuhi has officially become the members of Laochen's subordinates became one of them. Kurenai Yuhi smiled at Chen. The smile was beautiful, it turned out to be extraordinarily beautiful, and it seemed that she was satisfied, which was enough to explain her state of mind at this time. Chen also smiled. And this scene was seen by Sasuke in the crowd. Sasuke saw the scratches on Kurenai Yuhi's forehead guard and thought of that man again, Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke remembered Uchiha Itachi, and the unconscious Sharingan double-checked. Sasuke's eyes were double Tomo, but this hatred made Sasuke's eyes irritated, and it was very close to the edge of 3 Tomo. Sasuke looked at Chen again and said in a low voice, this person is Uchiha. Chen is so strong, he must be stronger than that man. I want to get a strong one. It can't go on like this any longer. Sasuke's mind turned sharply, and he thought for a while, and finally had his mind. Sasuke couldn't help but reached out and touched the curse mark on his neck. Remembering Orochimaru's words, his eyes gradually became firm. And don't look at Chen talking to Kurenai Yuhi, but in fact, within a radius of 10 miles, everything is under Chen's control. Chen sensed Sasuke's thoughts, and the corner of his mouth evoked a smile. This chick finally decided to leave Konoha to fly. The time gradually passed, and saw a smile on the corner of Chen's mouth, and left the village with Kurenai Yuhi. Chen had already said goodbye to Tsunade, and the only thing left was to say goodbye to Hinata. Chen asked Kurenai Yuhi to leave first and go to the Akatsuki headquarters in the Land of Rain. At this time, Kurenai Yuhi realized that the entire country of Rain was already in Chen's pocket, and he was even more in awe of Chen, completely shocked. Kurenai Yuhi aside, Hinata came out to greet him, and Hinata found Chen. The news of meeting Hinata was passed on by Hyuga Hanabi. Hyuga Hanabi sent a message to Chen and said with a smile, "Brother-in-law, my sister said she was waiting for you at the old place at night." My sister has been doing little things these days, secretly, preparing small gifts, even I don't know what it is. Hyuga Hanabi has a carefree personality and is very cheerful, talking to Chen. Chen nodded slightly, but he was looking forward to it, and he didn't know what gift Hinata had prepared for him. Thinking of this, Chen soon came to the old place. Sure enough, he saw that Hinata had already been waiting for a long time. When he saw Chen, Hinata lowered his head slightly, with 2 clusters of Yuhi halo on his face, with a thick Yuhi color, and whispered, "Chen. Brother Chen, you are here. Well, here we come." Chen smiled and said, "Hinata is getting better and better recently." This sentence made Hinata extremely shy and sweet. Looking at Chen, she was even more shy and moved, and said softly, "Liar." She spoke, Hinata almost buried her head in her chest. Hinata said, "Brother Chen, you are leaving soon." "Well. The country of rain is getting cold now, I have something to give you." Only when Hinata took out one thing from her bosom, she saw that it was a blue scarf. This blue scarf was not delicate, but it was knitted stitch by stitch, which made Chen feel warm. This blue scarf is exactly what Hinata wanted. 539 finally arrives, End Valley. Seeing Hinata's little snow-white hand holding a blue scarf, Chen felt warm in his heart, took the scarf, and said softly, "Thank you Hinata, I'm very grateful. I'll wear it all the time." While speaking, Chen immediately put on this blue scarf. No need. Hinata's eyes were sparkling with joy, but he shied away from his mouth. Chen smiled and saw at a glance what Hinata was really thinking. In fact, what Hinata didn't tell Chen was that Hinata spent a lot of thought for this scarf. This is the first time for Hinata to knit a scarf. She has practiced several times, but several of the knitted scarves are not good looking, so she has to re-knit it. At the same time, Hinata not only knitted this blue scarf, but also knitted a Yuhi color scarf of the same style but a different color for himself. Yuhi color represents Hinata, and blue is Chen. Happens to be a couple's model, which is also Hinata's little mind. Perhaps for a shy girl like Hinata, this is the most daring way she expresses Chen. And all this, Chen did not know. The corner of Hinata's mouth showed a satisfied smile. She didn't care whether Chen knew or not at all, she only needed to think about such a person in her heart, and she felt very happy in her heart. There was a hint of joy in Hinata's eyes. Then I'll go first, you must take care." Hinata spoke in a low voice, whispering to Chen. Chen smiled, nodded lightly, and said softly, "I see." For the eldest lady of the Hyuga family like Hinata, it is not easy to get out of the door. This time, Hinata sneaked out, and she did not dare to stay outside for too long. Thanks to the help of the little traitor Hyuga Hanabi lookout. Well. Hinata gave Chen a deep look and seemed to have 1,000 words to say, but in the end she just nodded and left. Hinata left. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Chen's mouth. He was about to leave, but after thinking about it, he still stayed where he was, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, because he sensed another thing. That is, Sasuke is about to leave. Only in the dim light at the head of Konoha village, Chen sensed the arrival of a figure. It was Sasuke. Sasuke walked towards the entrance of the village firmly. When passing by a bench in front of the village, Sasuke saw a familiar figure, Sakura. Sakura, why are you here? Sasuke was slightly surprised, but when he saw Sakura looking at him with a little panic, Sakura bit the corner of his mouth and said, Sasuke, you are really Shimaru. When I saw you during the day, I saw your expression was wrong, I guessed it. You may have to leave the village, you are now really. Sasuke glanced at Sakura, was silent for a while, and finally calmed down. Said, yes. Sakura's pink Yuhi-colored long hair seemed to hit Sakura completely after coming into contact with this answer, and she never regained her senses for a long time. Sakura said, but you are willing to leave here like this, Naruto and I, and Kakashi, sensei, we all need you. Sasuke paused, but immediately took a few steps forward and said, sorry, I have a new bond now, if I stay here, I can't find the way to go, I have to become stronger. Okay. Yes, but I love you too. Sakura gathered up the courage to look at Sasuke and shouted seriously. Sasuke's footsteps paused again, a faint brilliance flashed, and he looked at Sakura. Sakura mustered up the courage to look at Tatsu, without flinching at all, but looked into Sasuke's eyes earnestly and mustered up her courage. Sasuke was slightly startled, and finally sighed softly, I am sorry, Sakura. As soon as I said this, I saw Sasuke's figure flashed, and he used the teleportation technique to suddenly get behind Sakura. Sakura was stunned for a moment, and before he could react, he saw Sasuke approaching her, and he took out a palm and slashed directly. At the back of Sakura's neck, Sakura froze for a moment, fell softly to the ground, and only spit out one word, you. Sasuke supported Sakura, who was about to fall, a trace of unbearable flashed in his eyes, but soon became firm again, and said in a voice that only he could hear, Sakura, I'm sorry. Saying that, Sasuke's figure flashed and completely disappeared in place. He has left the village. After Sasuke left, Chen also appeared at the entrance of the village. Seeing Sasuke's figure gradually leaving, he whispered to himself, has it finally begun, the upcoming Battle of the End Valley. The Battle of the Valley of the End seems to be finally coming. Thinking of this, Chen's heart moved slightly, and he was looking forward to the upcoming Battle of the Valley of the End. He didn't know how the result of this battle would be the same as in the original book, or Sasuke would leave. The next day, Naruto and Kakashi found Sakura lying on the spot and rushed Sakura to Konoha Hospital. Sakura was fine and quickly woke up. Naruto asked anxiously about the situation, and after learning that Sasuke had left, the whole person was blown up. Sasuke left the village, and Naruto was completely blown up after learning that Sasuke left. He was so shocked that he couldn't accept this fact. Naruto immediately said, I must go and bring this guy back. Naruto clenched his fist tightly, extremely angry. Naruto was furious, and at this time Sakura looked at Naruto with pleading eyes and said, Naruto, please promise me one thing. Please be sure to bring Sasuke back, please, this is the pursuit of my life. Sakura's eyes were wet, and tears were already streaming down her face. 540 Road without light. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. Naruto looked at Sakura solemnly, nodded seriously, clenched his fists with both hands, and said, I know. I will, Sakura, don't worry, I will definitely bring Sasuke back. Naruto looked at Sakura seriously, serious. Sakura nodded lightly and said softly. Sakura wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and sobbed softly, please. Well, leave it to me, just leave everything to me, I'll go get Sasuke back now. Seeing Sakura's appearance, Naruto is extremely distressed. In fact, Naruto still likes Sakura very much at this moment. Due to the appearance of Chen, the plot has changed, and Naruto and Hinata have no longer intersected, so Naruto's Won My Heart is always on Sakura, and seeing Sakura so uncomfortable at this time makes my heart even more sad. Well, please. Sakura whispered. Naruto turned around and didn't answer, but clenched his fists and left resolutely. Naruto embarks on the road to find Sasuke. Naruto, Choji, Neji, Kiba, and Nara Shikamaru formed a team of 5. With the help of the Kakashi psychic beast, they searched for the trace of Sasuke. Tree Shadow Madara barges. There are trees everywhere. This is also the unique terrain of the Fire Country. Neji, do you feel their trail? Naruto asked. It's almost time, I've sensed it now, there are several traps ahead, let's avoid them. Neji said in a low voice. Good. Neji, it's not wrong to let you follow me out. Kiba smiled back and said seriously. Hey. 5 people marched forward, only Nara Shikamaru looked gloomy and seemed to be calculating something. He knew that the strength of the Otogakur people he faced this time was very good. This time, Kitamaru used the power of the curse to resurrect Orochimaru, and although Kitamaru did not die, it was also greatly damaged, because Orochimaru took the power of the curse and most of the chakras on Kitamaru. Resurrection. Therefore, Kitamaru is no longer suitable for participating in the war, so currently there are only 3 people in Otogakur, Tayuya 3. 3 of Tayuya were carrying Sasuke on their backs, and Sasuke was sealed in the wooden barrel. Tayuya 3 people are closing their eyes and resting. Yo, it looks like a few Konoha mice are chasing after them. Takuya laughed softly, with a playful look in his eyes. That's right, let's play with him then. Zuo-jin narrowed his eyes, revealing a dangerous aura, and said lightly. Zuo-jin and Tayuya and others looked like one. Zuo-jin said, I am ready to fight. Okay, I'll stay first. The voice among the 5 people, leave it to me to deal with these little boys. Okay, let's move on. Then, just as in the plot, Kidomaru is missing, causing Jirobo to confront Choji and Neji. And Taiyu also met Shikamaru. At the same time, Zuo-jin met Kiba. A war began, and the situation changed. No one expected to face the. In such a situation, they fought each other. And soon, just like in the original book, Kimimaro also appeared on the battlefield. Kimimaro is the strongest among the 5 members of Otogakur, and he is also the absolute leader. Crisis was resolved. In this case, Naruto finally caught up with Sasuke. Sasuke and Naruto. Sasuke's eyes flashed out, looking at Naruto. At the same time, his eyes flashed, and there was a hint of coldness. Naruto, you are here. Sasuke said lightly. Sasuke, come back with me. Naruto said angrily. Sasuke glanced at Naruto, with anger in his eyes, and said coldly, Naruto, don't talk to me in this tone, I won't go back. For me, Konoha is no longer a place to stay, and I don't care about everything about Konoha. Including the bond between you and Sakura, I don't care anymore. Sasuke said lightly. Only one thought in Sasuke's heart, that is to become stronger, stronger, and stronger. Catch up with the man's strength, then surpass, and kill him. This idea was madly breeding in Sasuke's heart, and Sasuke almost fell into at the level of enchantment. He has been completely blinded by hatred. But this is no wonder Sasuke. After all, Sasuke was implanted in Tsukuyomi by Uchiha Itachi since he was a child. Through Tsukuyomi, Sasuke's mind was distorted, making Sasuke live in the shadow of hatred. You're not going back. Naruto glanced at Sasuke. Sakura is waiting for you to go back, and you won't go back either. Naruto, you still don't understand. As I said, I don't care about these things anymore. Konoha can't stand me. I'm going to be an avenger. I'm going to kill Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke said coldly, and the air around him was icy cold for a while, and it fell to the freezing point. Why, you weren't like this before. Naruto was completely puzzled. He could feel Sasuke's thoughts becoming very extreme. He had no idea what Sasuke was doing. How could it be like this? Sasuke said coldly. This time, I saw Uchiha Chen, the legendary Uchiha clan's strongest man. I saw his strength with my own eyes, which greatly stimulated me. If I stay in Konoha, I am afraid that my achievements in life will always be limited. I heard that Uchiha-chan rose rapidly on the battlefield and possessed the power to look down on all living beings. I want to get close to Orochimaru, and then find a way to meet Uchiha-chan and get the strongest power. In the distance, Chen was slightly startled when he heard it. For Sasuke's betrayal of the village was that he was stimulated by himself, and Chen suddenly couldn't help laughing, which was a bit interesting. But don't you know it's a dark road for you? Naruto shouted. I know, and it is because I know that I am more determined to go on. Sasuke said.